Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Apostle Babe Linda James, your favorite apostate. And I'm wanting to make sure you can all hear me. Um, it is Saturday night here in Southern California, the 25th of October, 2025. It shows I am on the stage, and I do have Matthew that has joined me tonight, and we're just going to play it by ear and talk about a few things that come up. I have a few things I wanted to share. Um, First off, the White House here in the United States, a lot of people are quite devastated with the White House, and Trump is adding a dance room ball to the White House, and I believe it's close to the West Wing. Um, the Rose Garden has been paved over, and he originally said that the ballroom would be next to the West Wing, but then it turned out to be actually we don't need the West Wing. It wasn't really that important, so they tore it down, and that has a lot of people upset. For me, it's quite devastating to see that happening. And let's see here. No.
Hello,
Hi.
what's up? Hi, yes, remember me?
I do. I
How
do.
are you? How
I'm
are you?
good.
I
I'm
just want to say how are you and how was your day? And I miss you. I really do. I'm sorry. I really do okay,
You're
miss
all
you.
good. I
Okay,
get the sweet
sorry
thing,
about
sweetheart.
my talking. I
That's
was
all
at
good.
the cousin's haunted house, and
Ah, I don't do scary.
scared
I
a lot
I
of people. And
oh
who
my
is
goodness.
this man up here?
So
Hi,
this man
Matthew.
is Matthew. So
Sorry.
he
Hello, no,
so
how are
as
How
you?
are you? Have you, wait, can we know each other or no? I'm sorry. I think
I don't
we,
think so. I think
like,
you've given a name that's short for Noel. Is that
yes,
correct?
yes.
Yes.
I don't want to dox myself. People are doing that to me. Yes, that's why I
Yeah.
named my name this, that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you joined me one night and you were telling me about that this group
Yes.
of people you were
These
hanging out with.
people are really bad on this YouTube platform.
Right. Right. And if you remember right, this
Yeah.
channel is about educating people on cults and
Yeah.
recovering from high control groups. And it could be any kind of a
What does that mean?
like a high control group could be like Scientology
I
or
don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
okay, Scientology would be a group of and then there's are you familiar with Jim Jones and the People's
No.
Temple? Okay.
No, I don't know who
So
that is.
so a cult. Are you familiar with what a cult is?
It's like a the bad gang. It's
It
like
can
a
be.
gang, a part of it.
It can be like a bad gang. Actually, that's very similar, except it's in the culture of a church rather
Really?
than a gang, which is more of the culture of the streets and
What does that
naming
mean?
territory. Meaning, some churches are very like they try to take the role of a parent in people's
Are
lives.
you a good one or are you a bad one? I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm sorry.
So, in my opinion, a cult is falls under bad because it's abusive. It's
Yes.
abusive, like having an abusive partner or an abusive parent who always talks down to you and tells you how terrible you are, when in actuality you're not, right? But if I was your pastor and I wanted to control your movements and get you to work for me, because I would gain money if I got you to work for me, I would talk down to you if you did things I didn't approve of, and then I would talk
So is
encouragingly
you
to
wait,
you.
wait, wait. I'm really, really, really confused right now. I'm sorry. My brain is
That's all good.
okay. I'm sorry. This is how I get. I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Yeah, take your time. So I'm going to go ahead and talk
That's all
about what
right.
I was talking about, and
Okay.
you're welcome to stay here and listen. And then in a little bit, I'm going to open things up for people to ask questions or to join me here on stage like you have, or in the,
Yes.
and then I'm going to go from there. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. But I'm glad you're here, Noelle. Good
I'm
to see you,
glad
hon.
you are here too with me. I'm sorry. I just wanted to talk to more these people. Yes.
Well, I hope this is a positive experience tonight, even if it sounds confusing. I hope what you experienced tonight is positive and comforting and relaxing.
I hope
So,
so.
yeah, that's it. That's my hope for you. And that's the hope for those that I end up having come here and watch the show. And so I was talking about President Trump and
Yes.
how he's doing some work on the White House, and some people
Yes.
are devastated because of
Why?
this adjustment that he's making to put in a dance ball. I don't know if I'm saying it
Excuse me,
correctly.
I have a question for you. Are you a Trump supporter? I'm sorry. I'm just okay.
I don't I didn't vote for him, but I'm not a Trump hater. I'm
That
To me, Trump scares the hell out of me, but I'm not a hater of him. I don't I don't agree with some of the stuff and the way he's doing things, which, people can agree and not agree. There's some things he's done that I thought was pretty amazing, like um, his last term. He actually came out with food boxes that the farmers actually here in the U.S. all of their food was going to go bad. Why? Because restaurants were closing down, because people were encouraged to shelter in place
mhm.
and not go out to restaurants. So he or somebody else suggested to him that that food that usually would go to restaurants could be put in boxes and given out as charity, so we can send them off to churches, and the churches can give it to their congregants.
Is
Or
that true?
yes, that happened, and that was under Trump, and that was very, like, I'm very glad he did that.
He
That
did
was
that? Wow.
Yes, yes, he did that. And so Jehovah's Witnesses benefited because of that, amongst
He
other
ended
charities.
the war. He ended that war. Remember?
No, I don't
Oh, I
know unless you
thought.
tell me the name of it. But
Matt, have you seen him? The war? Have you that war that goes on? Forgot who it.
There's a,
I'm not
there's a
familiar
few
with.
wars going on.
Yeah, right now there's stuff that's going on, but are you talking about his last term, or are you talking about this term that he's, because he was our president for 4 years, and then there was Biden for 4 years,
No, no, I'm
and
not talking about that.
now
I'm
we're
talking about he ended some war. He
well when
stopped the war.
well I believe when he was at the United Nations, he claimed that he stopped 7 wars. I believe that was the case. And there was someone named Jimmy Bell that people are familiar with inside of like within the ex Jehovah's Witness community, and he gave an account for him for Trump being associated with 7 different groups that did help to end 7 different wars. I don't remember which ones they were, but um, that was something mentioned by Jimmy Bell on the Relentless, the channel by Ruby Quinn. I would say that would be about
Who's
3 weeks
that?
ago. Who's that? Is that what you said?
Yes.
He who is Jimmy Bell? Jimmy Bell
Yes.
is somebody who is a previous Jehovah's Witness like myself, and he had a channel where him and a couple of guys used to kick it at a table. They called it
What?
the
Wait,
round
I'm
table.
confused. What is a Hobist witness means?
What does Jehovah's Witness mean?
Yeah.
So Jehovah's Witnesses are the name of a religion.
So bad. Are you a bad one or are you a good one? I'm
Linda
confused.
James, it sounds like Noel's.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Noel, it seems to be losing some of the what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Do you
the
wanna share?
broadcast, but it seems to be a bit choppy. Is that the same
Okay.
for you, Linda James?
Oh my God, I can't. I'm sorry.
Okay. So this was too overwhelming for her, so she exited the building. That's all good.
Yes, James. Sorry, I think I don't know how it was, but it seemed to be breaking up, or Noel seemed to not be hearing, or something like that. I don't know what was happening there. Was it the same for your side?
I didn't hear it breaking up, but Noelle was needing to understand things, and she showed up already in a heightened state of alert because she was
Yes.
talking about how she went to a haunted house. And let me just say, I don't do haunted houses. I don't watch horror flicks. I grew up in a cult that was horrifying. So I don't get in line for anything that's going to scare me because I've had enough of scared growing up within this organization. If I'm going to take a ride, it's like going to be something smooth and easy, or I'm going to listen to some good music. I don't sign. To me, getting scared is not a good time. Some people like they enjoy getting scared and they'll laugh and they enjoy that sensation in them. But for me, growing up in this organization, plus my mother keeping me scared all the time, I had that adrenaline, that cortisone, whatever. I literally marinated in it growing up. Okay. So it's it's just not a good time for me. But I know some people do kind of enjoy that being scared thing because it kind of it's a sensation that they can laugh at and enjoy. But I don't. So I don't. But I love Halloween to be able to dress up. I love to be able to dress up in different characters and all that good stuff. But okay, so that was Noelle. She did a drive-by visit and didn't stay, and that's all good.
Well, that's all right. I'm glad that Noel came and we got to meet her for a little while, and maybe she might
Yeah.
come again. I don't know, but maybe that was enough to serve whatever that she was curious about, or to calm her nerve or whatever, and she logged on. But Linda James, you had some interesting thoughts there about what's going on your side of the world, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Trump is doing some adjustments to the White House, and some people here in the U.S. are pretty devastated because it's a historical um, place, right? So I think there are some people that are all for it. I haven't heard of any people yet, but I'm sure there is, and I am sure too that once he puts that ball in, um, it's going to be amazing. It's going to look amazing, and he's spoken about it like when different dignitaries come from other countries and stuff and come to visit us, it's going to be a benefit for those things as well. But it's hard for my psyche to adjust to it, and it's actually affecting me similar to, and maybe somebody can relate to this and maybe not, but when this was about 2 years ago, over at where Charles Taze Russell's grave is, and there was this monument of a pyramid. It was like a smaller replica of the Pyramid of Gaza, okay? And that was put up shortly after his death and his burial. And Joseph Rutherford made sure that it was put up. It was actually in pink marble, because Charles Taze Russell's favorite color was actually pink. And so this was a pink marble pyramid. So about 2 years ago, and there's been a few things that have happened to this monument thing, and it's based from the turn of the century of when we came from the 18th century to the 19th century. It was he was doing studies on pyramidology, but he was not the only person. There was a couple of other people who were also Christians, so it wasn't just, you know, it was kind of becoming an okay thing to look at and be a Christian. So it wasn't like way out there. It was kind of becoming acceptable to associate pyramidology with Christianity. And he was studying about it. He came up with how many inches was in it. And that's part of how he came up in 1914 as well, or it confirmed the equation that he came up with regarding 1914. And at different times, 1914 meant one thing, and then at another time it meant another thing. But he called the Pyramid of Gaza the Bible in stone. So he really had a sense of value in it. So anyways, a couple of years back, it was taken down. And even though it represents something that, you know, I might not have believed in or anything, but I still mourned. I actually mourned when I saw the pyramid, the walls of it broken and laying on the ground. And like I mourned over that. And I'm having the same kind of reaction with part of the White House that's being torn down. So there's that happening, and some other people are not okay with it. So there's that. There's also another thing. If you all recall, in Washington, SB, it ended with 75. I don't remember the full number. It was passed for clergy penitent, I have to say this again. So when a pastor or a priest or an elder hears of someone who admits CSA within a confession, they would have to be a mandatory reporter. Whereas what has been is canon law that they don't have to report CSA if they hear of a perpetrator that confessed that they had been a perpetrator. Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Because of clergy penitent privilege. Am I saying that right, Matthew? Clergy penitent?
You spot on.
Okay, so it means your pastor and the congregant, just like a lawyer would keep whatever you tell them private. It's that same kind of confidentiality. So there's that. So Aaron's here. Hi, Aaron. How are you doing? Okay, you have to undo
Hang on
your...
a second.
Sure.
Yeah, I was muted there. Sorry.
Okay.
Hello,
Good.
Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
How's everyone doing? All right.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Aaron, this is Matthew. And Matthew, this
going?
is Aaron.
All right. Nice to meet you.
I think you have been
Yeah, I've been here before.
Hubbard. I
Yeah.
think you're Hubbard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me.
Yeah.
Chad.
Thanks for showing up
I
again.
I just shortened it because that way everything's congruent for being on live.
Okay. So Dallas is joining me as well, or us. Hey Dallas, how's it going?
Well, I'm here with y'all here. And
Dallas, I'm so happy
I,
when you come up.
I think this first time meeting Aaron, I think it is. Ain't
I
it?
I think I've been on stream with you and Debbie before, but it's just I don't come on that often on these programs, so that's why.
Mm.
Oh, Linda said that she visited the pyramid in Pennsylvania while there was for work in 2017. So she knows what I'm talking about. It's like to see it is, I don't know. I have not seen it in person. I've just seen pictures of it. And let me just say something too. When I met when I was first getting to know ex Jehovah's Witnesses, I met Randall Waters, and Randall Waters was somebody that within this ex Jehovah's Witness community, he used to have a site and stuff, and was a previous Bethelite in the 80s. Hi, girl. Good to have you. How you doing? You have yourself muted. Good to see you. So when I went to meet him at a ex Jehovah's Witness potluck, okay? And so he had a stack of pictures back when we used to have to go someplace to get them developed. That's how long ago that was. So he had a stack of pictures of these pyramids. I mean, not pyramids, all of the same pyramid of the one next to Charles Taze Russell's grave. So that's kind of I associate it with the beginning of my coming to know other things about the organization besides what I grew up knowing. Okay. And then I came to find out why that pyramid was put there, how Charles Taze Russell valued it, and what it meant to him, how he used the tunnels in there, the inches. And by the way, there's a certain kind of measuring thing to measure the inches in there. It's not an ordinary ruler. They have their own pyramid kind of ruler. I don't even know what to call it, but it's uniquely different than just an ordinary ruler, And so it was just, it takes me back to that. So I think that's why it was very sentimental to me. And so I think that might be why I'm looking at the White House, the way the White House is being treated right now. It's maybe I'm just capturing it at the scary time. And it's
Can I
all
speak
going
to that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, we've all know. All right, this is Trump's second. First of all, I just want to get this out there. I'm not very much of a person that thinks much of politics. I'm no Jimmy Bell. I'm no Ruby. And truth be told, I think they're kind of out there in a lot of ways, thinking politics has the solution. When in reality, if you look back at our country's history, especially the recent history over the last 5 or 6 decades or so, that especially since we went off the gold standard and we've had this debt-based economic system going, no matter what side of the aisle has been in office, the debts kept going up, and the governments kept getting bigger, and all this kind of stuff. So,
Very true.
but that being said, this is Trump's second term, and we've known that he's unpredictable to a large degree. He's already went back to naming the Department of Defense the Department of War, which is what it used to be called years ago.
Yep.
He renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and those things were small compared to, I guess, this most recent thing, which is demolishing the East Wing and putting in a new section. But it doesn't surprise me. And if you think that the White House, or if you admire the White House as a historical building, then I can see why that would upset people. But to me, that it's just more of a symbolic of the demolition of America itself as an empire. And we also know that world reserve currencies don't last forever. So the dollar's been the reserve currency for many decades now. So I really truly believe that what's happening with all the wars that are being going on and all that is just trying to maintain the empire, essentially. And Trump is just the next guy in there that's doing that. So my
Yeah.
my
Yeah, you might
my
be right.
my personal solution is to steer clear of politics to a large degree and just be your own independent sovereign individual, stack gold and silver and save, try not to get yourself into debt, and just try to be apart from the system as much as you can, because I think hard times are on the way. They could very well be coming starting November 1st with the loss of the SNAP benefit program, and
Yes.
that would leave 42 million Americans without,
Yes.
possibly food insecure. And I think it's
Mhm.
going to be that. I mean, with our supply chain the way it is, we only have 3 days at any given time until Mad Max sets in. That's just the
Yes.
economic model that we've developed. So
Mhm.
what we're really going to need is those skills like our grandparents and great grandparents had, that they knew how to can things and knew how to survive the Great Depression, because I think that's what we're headed for.
It does seem like that, doesn't it? I can't help but see it that way as well. And I think what you're stating as far as learning how to can things is very wise. And a matter of fact, anybody can learn how to do that through YouTube. There are so many channels that can teach you how to can things. Um, that will last. It's a good way of storing up food for like the whole season of summer or winter or whatever. It's good prepping, good preparing. um, yes, November 1st, it's thought that SNAP, which is basically food stamps for the USA, could be, it sounds like it could be, we might lose them, and many, I'm talking many Jehovah's Witnesses here in the US are on food stamps. So it will be
Oh,
affecting our Jehovah's Witness, family, or who we might know about. So it's also in the month of November. Okay. Plus, I just read the other day that turkey prices are skyrocketing. Not that Jehovah's Witnesses are a celebrator of this holiday that happens in November, but the rest of this USA are into celebrating Thanksgiving and buying a turkey, and now that's going to be a higher price. And if people do lose their food stamps, that's going to be even more challenging to get a turkey to have that traditional thing that's been going on with them. Um, the government, I don't know if I would call it the government. I don't. The Congress is shut down, so there isn't a negotiating thing going on. One side's blaming the other side's blaming the other. But what's happening is it's negotiations are not happening. So that's what's going
It's
on too in the
it's all
U.S.
just it's all really just kabuki theater is what it is, because we all know what's going to happen. They're going to bring it back. They're going to open it back up. Well, first of all, the government's not really shut down, because it's the vast majority of it is still operating. The
Correct.
best thing would be for it to shut down altogether, but they're not going to do that. And then not only that, but all the ones that are that are being furloughed, workers that are being furloughed in the military, they're all not getting paid right now, but they're anticipating getting paid when the government
Right.
opens back up and it comes to a resolution. So
Hmm.
really, it's mainly just about posturing, I think, and it's all by design, because the powers that be know that this debt-based fiat currency system can't survive in its current form much longer. And honestly, it should have died in 2008, but they weren't done. They weren't done destroying the middle class then. But we're getting
Right.
close. We're getting closer now.
Yes, a bubble in 2008 popped, and um, so if somebody owned property in 2008, then somebody could probably explain it better than I am. But if they owed a certain amount of money on a home or apartment buildings or something, they needed to come up with the full amount at that time when the bubble bursted. That's how I heard it said to me.
Well, a lot of people lost everything, because
Yes, a lot of
their
people
house
did.
they were underwater on their mortgage loans, and they couldn't afford to keep the house. They lost their job, and I mean, we're seeing foreclosures start to tick higher now. The housing market it's still relatively strong, I guess, but it's there's a little bit of turmoil there. So I mean,
Yeah.
the pandemic really shook everything up, and the house price rise that happened during that time was kind of unprecedented. And not only that, but you had the big corporations like BlackRock buying up all the real estate, and then they want to rent it back to the people they bought it from.
Hmm.
So it's like the people with the people that have the money to buy the homes straight out aren't affected by what the interest rates are. So that's why the prices can keep going up. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
the best thing is to own your house outright if
Mhm.
it's possible.
Yes, it is. That's very true. And at that time in 2008 or shortly after, the they were told that they're going to get a bailout. I believe that's what they called it. But the people that lost their homes didn't get a bailout. It was the banks that got the bailout. So the people that lost their homes were still, at a disadvantage. But I guess that was a good protective thing to do that for the banks so that the banks didn't all close. Or I don't know enough about all of this to understand how it all works together, but I do remember that. And a matter of fact, there were some apartment buildings that we were looking at the time. And when it was explained to me what the bubble was about 2008, I think we were looking at it 2004 or something. When I understood what the bubble was, I declined us getting apartment buildings because I knew how are we going to pull that out of our rear end? This big, huge amount that would be owed at that time. And that's how I understood it. I could be wrong, but I declined, and I'm glad I did.
Sir, I mean, I bought my house in 06, and in hindsight, it was a good purchase because nominally my home's value has risen, quite a lot in percentage terms since then. But if I had bought later, maybe I could have gotten a better deal. But I never. Thankfully, I was able to get through the crisis without actually losing the house. And actually, I even had a Countrywide as my mortgage company for a while there. But of course, Countrywide went bankrupt, and they got bought out by Bank of America, and then all that happened. But it's been interesting.
So were you put in a position where you had to come up with all of the money for your home, like the rest of the money that was owed? And
I wasn't. I'm sure other
Okay.
people were put in that position, and then the people
Okay.
that couldn't do that were probably had to get foreclosed on. But yeah, there's a lot of stories out there of people that lost everything in 08, and now they're out there speaking about what's happening now, trying to help others to see that this could happen again.
Yeah, Mama Bear just mentioned children are going to go hungry also because they're taking the school lunches away, meaning free school lunches.
Wow.
There was a good amount of people that qualified for their children to receive free school lunches. So that being taken away was brought up to us, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. But it's just not looking good.
Yeah.
We're seeing that things aren't going to land well. So it's concerning. And I get what you're saying as far as like, being an independent sovereign person and not be so, hung up on politics and stuff. And I, for one, do take a few days off from the news, but I kind of like to know where ICE is. Okay. I kind of like to know. I'd like to know where ICE is going. and I can remember during after Trump's last term, I took a few days off from the news because, it was just like my head was spinning. And I turned the news on one day and it was January 6th. I did not see that coming, but it was out there being circulated. that it was going to happen, and you know,
Mm.
so people knew about it and showed up there, and many of the people there were just people kicking it on the grass. Like it had a big old front yard area kicking it on the grass. It was a small percentage of everybody that went there that went in, that chose to go inside, and the route that they took inside. That it was a small amount compared to everybody that showed up. And the people that went in there, that was a devastating thing to watch for me. It was absolutely watching somebody get carried away because they just got shot, and finding out later it was somebody who was trying to get into um, the main area where people were gathering. And the whole point was uh, for that day was that Trump wanted his Vice President Pence to do something to where he would not count a certain amount of votes regarding not the popular vote, but not the popular vote, but the electoral vote. And he wanted Pence to not do it correctly and send it back or something. So it was, he wanted him to do a stall. But what happened, what was going on when when Trump was suggesting that he do this, Pence's lawyer was saying, no, that's not good for you. Pence was a person that did everything Trump wanted him to do. Pence was a very loyal Trump supporter and was always there keeping an eye out. He was an amazing servant for Trump. Okay. So for him to say no to Trump was a rare occasion. Okay. And he did it because his lawyers told him, no, this is illegal. You can't do this. And it would not have been the first time Trump suggested somebody else do something for him, and then they end up in jail and Trump doesn't, okay? Because they did his dirty work. Pence chose not to do what Trump requested him to do, which would stall things and make it to where he would be able to stay as a president longer, or I'm not real clear on that, so I need to not go further in that. But so you know, there was a noose hung in the front of the why to hang the vice president. So these people showed up and saw him as a traitor. Well, because Trump announced what a traitor he was, Pence was. So this group that was there was ready to hang his ass. Okay, literally had a noose hanging. Okay, to hang Pence. Am I supposed to sit here and think, oh, nah, that wouldn't have happened? Maybe. But to be honest, it looked like it was going to happen. Okay. And they were also looking for Nancy Pelosi. I don't know what y'all think of her. She's done some crappy stuff, but they wanted to do some stuff with her as well. And they broke into her office. They banged up some stuff in there. People, you know, somebody took a shit in that area someplace. I mean, I don't even know. It was not a good day. Okay, it just was not a good day, and it was considered an attempted coup, which I've heard stories that actually those were not Trump supporters. Those were actually a bunch of Democrats that got busted in to look like Trump supporters, and they're the ones that did it all. That's highly.
I don't think we'll ever know what.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly. We just don't know the whole story. And there was a trial that happened to where they brought a whole bunch of evidence regarding January 6th, and it was done by conservatives. So when I saw that, I could see it as there's an ordinary conservative, and then there was a far right conservative, which were pretty extremist. I don't see all of conservatives as being like those who are extremists at all, because they're not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say that anybody that is a conservative is that way. I don't see them that way. I don't believe that they're that way. The ordinary Joe that is at church every Sunday, prefers not to have the government in his back pocket. Has a few viewpoints that I might not agree with, but he's a decent guy. He's a conservative man. He has certain values and more than likely a man of integrity. Okay. And it's good that we have them in the United States, So, yeah. Anyways, those of you that are here in the United States, there's next month there's going to be a chance to do some voting. So please check on what we're going to be voting about to make your choices. And it's an important opportunity to be able to vote if you're comfortable voting. Some of us who were involved in the Jehovah's Witness religion might see voting as being part of this world and kind of against what we were taught, which was Jesus told us not to be part of the world. We were indoctrinated to believe that would include not voting. If that's still your belief and it goes against your conscience, by all means, I'm not saying you should vote. But if you are at a place where it is okay with your conscience, look things over, do some homework on what you want to vote for and why, to make an informed decision. Because next month we do have that opportunity to do that. And when we were Jehovah's Witnesses and we were not to vote, what that did for us was it made it to where the rank and file members did not have a voice. It made it to where if we had a complaint about something, unless we were somebody that was a voter, we weren't really considered important in their eyes. God, what's the word for it? There's a word for it that we were kind of like, I want to say disenfranchised. That's the term I'm looking for. We were disenfranchised. Whereas if we're a voter, people that are upper in the government will recognize our vote as being of worth. But if we're disenfranchised, we have no voice, we don't vote. We were also told that we don't lobby. And lobbying is doing something that could affect somebody in politics to change something or to promote people in politics to vote a certain way or to take a certain stance. So when the organization says that we did not lobby, that's actually incorrect. When we were asked to write to Malawi back in the day, we were lobbying. It was for a good reason. We had brothers and sisters over there. It was horrendous. We were writing to the leadership of Malawi, asking them not to allow these horrific things to continue happening. And that was, we had great intentions. Okay. But that is in fact lobbying. Okay. When we were asked to write to Russia, I don't know if any of you were still in at that time, we were asked to lobby. So when the organization says we don't lobby, in fact, that is not true. The Jehovah's Witnesses don't even realize that is what they're doing. And they care about our brothers and sisters in Russia. I mean, I know I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, but these are Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia who are following the direction of the governing body here in the United States, telling them we don't go by the rules of man. We live by the rules of God, which is to continue going and preaching the good news, okay, and studying the Bible. So they are being encouraged to break what the law has become there. There's certain publications that are considered they were put on a list of extremist material. So people keep getting, still to this day, taken to court. Then they have to be like in they have to be held for a while, and it could be, I don't know, a couple of weeks to 3 years, and then they get told where they're going to go. And usually they'll call it something like a re-educational camp. Okay, that means they're going to be brainwashed. That means they're going to work them as hard as can be and try to convince them to have the attitude of whatever attitude they want them to have. Okay, and they're going to do that to them by working them hard. Okay, so yes, they might survive, but it's very coercive. They're not treated well because they're prisoners. Okay, if the organization did not make them do that, and the reason the followers in Russia does do that is because they truly believe the governing body is speaking for Jehovah God, right? And they're wanting to be faithful to Jehovah God, and their consequences are they're put in prison. So yeah, it's too bad. It actually bothers me a lot that the organization is okay with these Russian Jehovah's Witnesses, or even other places too, because they're not only banned in Russia, but in other places as well. So anyways, we can only do what we can only do, and different things are happening. I tend to lean center to the left, and last weekend there was a protest called No Kings protest, and the mentality behind that was that people are seeing Trump act as a king rather than a president, and they're displaying their displeasure about this. But before that happened, the right was already calling it riots. And let me just say something. There was over 7 million people involved in this No Kings protest. It was very peaceful. Only one person showed up, like waving a gun or whatever, and that person had absolutely nothing to do with the protest. And she was taken in by authorities and was super apologetic, like, I don't even know how this happened, okay? So that was like this one event. And like I said, she was not part of the protest. She was not part of the people that were acting as, protecting those in the protest. She just showed up out of nowhere. And that's like the worst thing that happened. Go ahead.
I think the last No Kings protest that happened 2 or 3 months ago, or however long it wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago, really.
Right.
There was a section of the California highway, I think in Los Angeles, that got shut down for quite a while, and it was very disruptive from what I remember. I think that was the No Kings. I can't remember if it was any other event, but yeah,
I
that was
don't
that. At least
remember
that's
that. I do remember the freeway being shut down, and that was from what I remember, that was like at the beginning of ICE showing up. And people were getting
maybe.
like on
Yeah.
the 101 freeway in California, waving their Mexican flags and their American flags, just going, just totally being like, we're not having any of this. And it did disturb the freeway. It wasn't a planned, I don't think. I did not hear of that as being a planned protest. These ones that I'm talking about, the No Kings 1 and No Kings 2, they were planned and orchestrated. And so there was a lot going on behind and during the scenes. Welcome back, Matthew. But yeah, I do remember that a freeway being broken up, but I don't recall it being part of the No King, because they have a certain area that that they plan to march through, and then there's other people who actually guard the streets that would go into where they end up marching, and people take turns on all these streets to make sure that no traffic comes in there. besides people that plan on marching. So as the protest goes on, there's all these different people that are planned and have rehearsed and all this stuff to learn how to de-escalate someone if they're upset, so there's one kind of a person that will volunteer on the street and then somebody else will come behind them. Like there's like this whole routine thing that people get trained to do. And like they'll give water to people that might become overheated. They usually have some kind of bandages or something to that effect. They might even have some kind of solution that can be used if there's any gas that gets released. And I don't remember what that kind is, where the eyes will burn. So it could have been that the No Kings protest #1. I just don't recall it that way, but I do recall people hitting the freeways. I do recall people doing that. So yeah. Another thing that happened, which was really a shame, is that I don't even remember the location of this, but ICE what happens when ICE shows up places, and I'm still astonished by it, is people that are anywhere, whether they're in their house, in a store, someplace, they go out on the streets and they start yelling at ICE boldly and filming ICE and telling them to get out of there. Like they're very disapproving.
A lot of them are in danger. A lot of them are in danger now too. Some ICE agents are getting hurt or even killed, from what I heard.
I haven't heard getting killed. That's very possible, and I hope that's not the case. I hope that they only go to the point of mocking them and just talking them down. I don't.
No,
I
like
don't approve of it.
the local governments were even signing some kind of order, trying to keep ICE away, like trying to fight Trump for sending them in. So it's
Okay.
really like creating ICE-free zones, I think is what it was called. So yeah,
Yeah,
like we're in, like I think we're in civil war now, or if we're not, we're in the very early stages of it.
could be. They I get that ICE needs to do what ICE needs to do. I've never seen it done like this. And I grew up in Los Angeles, okay? I've heard of La Migra and the fear of La Migra, okay? I heard of these things, but I've never seen how ICE shows up in some kind of a, van or a truck, dressed all up in heavy gear with machine guns, and just goes to people and frickin' takes them down to the fucking ground and takes them off. You don't know who they are. You don't know what you're being picked up for. I mean, now we've kind of got an idea. Oh, that's ICE. But at first it was like, what do you, what? Like people that don't have an identification, don't tell you who they are, stick you in a van with no identification, you get taken to BFE, okay? BFE, bumfuck Egypt, is what I'm saying, which basically means the middle of who knows where. So that was so like traumatically startling for society at large to watch here in America. We weren't adjusting well to it. So when these people end up coming on through the streets and talking to ICE and telling them leave them alone or whatever, yes, ICE does not like that at all, because they want to be able to do their job and get it over with. Unfortunately, they're picking up citizens as well as undocumented citizens, okay? And they don't get to call family or a husband or a wife. You have to search and find out where that person is. There's also cases where somebody will show up like for their last bit of what they needed to do to become a citizen, but somehow the government, and I don't know how to connect, I don't have enough information to go from this dot to this dot, but somehow the government tells the judge to dismiss their case. So instead of being able to do their last step, or maybe they found something that was not done correctly in their paperwork in the past of something they had done, which could take 3 years to 25 years to become a citizen, okay? and so that might be used against them, but the government is asking them to drop these cases so they don't get to become a citizen. So here they are, still an undocumented person. They walk out of court devastated, thinking that they got to get to that last step and they were on their way to the next thing, which would be getting sworn in or whatever that's called. So that's a shock to the system of that person that went into the courtroom, actually following directions, doing it what is called the right way. I mean, I've heard tons of people I hear them saying, they just need to do it the right way. You know what? Many of them are doing it the right way. There's this process they have to go through, and maybe they're not at the end yet. So they could be in the middle of the process, and it actually takes some time. Do people screw up on what they're supposed to do? Yes, there are people that are. And, that's between them and their immigration lawyer, how to handle that between them and the judge and everything. But to have people who are doing it the right way and government is telling them to just close it out when they were doing it the right way is hard to understand, hard to hear. It just feels wrong to me. Okay, we're going to have Grow show up. Hello, Grow. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are
Hi.
you?
Good. I think I'm getting worked up, but these are some things I've been wanting to share. We also had some ICE show up somewhere. Again, I don't remember this location, but they called for backup, which means they're calling the local police department to help keep private or citizens, to help keep the citizens away from ICE as they're doing what they're doing. Okay, so if you're being taken down by ICE and all this stuff goes on, you calling 911 to get help is not going to happen. But they can call 911. They can call the police officers in. And there was this one case where people were, of course, giving them a hard time. If they lay one hand on an ICE agent, the ICE agent just arrests them, okay, for interrupting what they're doing. So for the most part, people are not touching them. And I have seen cases where they say somebody's doing something that they didn't do and they get arrested too. Let me just back up. ICE can send out things to people that are doing it the right way, going through the system the right way. They can send them things that says that they have a court date as a ruse, meaning deception, and for them to show up for a court date, when in actuality, they don't have a court date along their process. It's not really for their process. It's just to get them to show up so they can be arrested. And because they're not a citizen yet, they get hauled off to a detention center. And some people are we just don't know where they end up. We don't know where the people that were in what was called Alligator Alcatraz, we don't know where they are. They've been moved from there because that was on native land, and the natives took the government to court for them not to have that there, and the natives won. So they had to get everybody out of there. They've moved them somewhere else, and we don't know where that somewhere else is. We don't know. There's just a whole lot of we don't know, but they have every single, like they get to show up with the big guns, and they don't have to answer to anybody. Nobody gets, nobody's informed of much of anything except they're there to pick up people, and if you interrupt them, you're going against the law. And like I said, it is not only undocumented people, it is also legal citizens that are there too. And when they're questioned, there have been times when somebody would show them the ID, like the very first situation that I recall hearing about.
Oh.
Hey,
Linda
Linda.
freeze. Did she freeze?
I think she probably froze. I do want to touch a little bit on what she's saying. Because I can tell you from my perspective here, what we hear about um, the whole movement, for want of a better word, with ICE and ICE arresting persons who are citizens and undocumented people. So from what we understand here, because I am in Canada, what we understand is this. For a person to be classified as an undocumented person, it means that you have entered the United States illegally. Anyone can enter the United States across the northern border that separates the US from Canada and across the Mexican border. Anyone can enter the US through these two borders. A person is considered undocumented if their travel document is not stamped. So that means that that person has entered into the US illegally. Now, what has happened over the decades is that persons who come to the US and enter into the US through these unmanned, well, the Canadian border and the US border, most parts is unmanned, and the Mexican border, all of it, I believe, is manned. So you have Homeland Security as well as for the US and Mexico. And for the US and Canada, you have Homeland Security as well as CBSA. When a person enters into a country at any port of entry, they get their travel document stamped. Okay. Now, for persons who enter into the country and toss their passport, then they are considered refugees or one seeking asylum. They are considered documented. Over the decades, when a person enters into the US and make themselves undocumented, and then that person meets someone, fall in love, get married, remain married to that person, and receive their permanent residency, which all immigrants need to have first before they become citizens. So they receive their permanent residency and then they move on to become citizens. That person, being an undocumented person, become a citizen illegally. That's how it is. And for persons who are born into the United States or into Canada, if they don't understand immigration and immigration law, then in their eyes, it would seem as if the government is coming down very hard on persons who are already citizens. But these persons got their citizenship technically illegally because they came into the country and were not validated as an immigrant. So they're undocumented. And so for persons on our side of the border, this is what we know because I worked side by side with immigration. And even for Canada too, when a person crossed the border and come into Canada, or even if they toss their passport, they're considered undocumented. There is no way that that person can get their permanent residency unless they become documented. Now, mind you, they can meet someone and get married to that person and get their status. But for us here in Canada, before they get any status, we want to know how you got into the country. And if you came into the country crossing the border, then you don't get any status. You just don't get your status that easily. You just don't. You have to go to court and go through all these different avenues, because as far as we see, it's like you hop the queue. Everybody is placed in queue, but you went through the illegal means to fast track your getting your permanent residency in this country. Oh, no, no, no. We're going to put you back to the back of the queue. Mind you, there are some persons who slip through, but you're going to the back of the queue. We don't care how long you've been here. You've been here as an undocumented immigrant. And the thing about it is, every single immigrant who comes into the country, be it the US or be it Canada, every single one of them know immigration law. They might tell you they don't know, but they know a great deal about immigration law, more than the person who was born in the country. They know when immigration law changes. They do. They know it because they have to know it, because it is applying to them. Even if they don't speak the language, even if they don't speak English or they don't speak French, they know. They know when the law changes, they know. So every person who comes into a country and they make themselves um, an undocumented person, they know what steps they need to take before an expiry time as an undocumented person. For persons in Canada, if you come to Canada and you're undocumented, you have a certain time frame to get yourself documented. And if that time frame closed through no fault of your own leniency, they're going to extend it for you, but they would only do so how many times? And if um, you forget or don't remember, then that's on you. And so immigration law takes place and they put you on a plane and send you back home. They put you in detention for about 2, 3 weeks and then they send you back home because you were given the opportunity to come forward and get yourself documented. But if you choose not to get yourself documented and lay low, thinking that you'll get married to someone, get your permanent residency, a few years go by, get your citizenship, it will come back to bite you. It is going to come back to bite you, because then when it's time for you to collect your pension and they go through all the history, and now they're using AI, which is even faster, and they realize, oh, wait a minute, you were undocumented when you became a permanent resident. And then it just starts, the whole domino effect on you. And so they take away your not your citizenship. Well, of late they started taking that away now, but they take away all your status, and then you end up getting yourself deported. Why? Because you've been living a lie for years and years and years, when you had the opportunity to come forward to place yourself on the documented list. That's what I wanted to add.
Wow.
I think you're muted, Linda. That was a
Okay,
great.
thank you for saying that. So, yes, thank you, Gro. And you work for Homeland Security with Canada, correct?
So I work for not with the CBS or not with Homeland, but my department is the one that gives these immigrants their social insurance number. We call it SIN numbers in Canada. You call it social security numbers.
Hmm.
My department is the one that issues social insurance numbers to persons coming
Okay,
into the country. So we're
I
able to
see.
see as much as possible as to this person's history, how long
Okay.
they've been here, um, what is their status, because we have to work with their status document, their primary document, that what shows their status is in the country, whether they're here on a student visa, whether they're here as a refugee claimant, whether they're here as asylum seekers. We get to see all of that.
Okay. I remember there was a show that you came on a while back, and it was incredibly enlightening, much like what I'm sure you've been giving to the audience, which I'm thankful for. You were mentioning that the process is very similar that someone would need to go through here in the US to what people need to go through there in Canada as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, it just this is hard to watch. This is very, very hard to watch when it's not
Yes. Yeah.
being done in the manner that we were told it was going to be done, and we're powerless. We're powerless.
Yeah.
I've
It's
told all of my friends who are brown or darker, please get your paperwork totally
yes.
ready to where you can show it to somebody if anybody asks. And by the
Yes.
way, my real name, not Apostrophe Linda James, in real life, I have a Hispanic last name.
Right.
Are they going to get to a point where anybody with a Hispanic name
No.
whatsoever?
No. No.
Okay, so that's just my own head trip fear.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not. It's not like that. That's not what it is. For example, let's say for myself, let's say I'm living in the US and I have my citizenship because I've been living in the US for about 23 years. But they can in my household, let's just say that my three other relatives came to the US. But in the system it shows that I have undocumented people living in my house. So of course they come and they round everybody up, me included, but they didn't round my mother up or my sister. Why is that? Well, because in their system, it will tell them if I was a documented person when I got my green card and when I became a citizen. If in their system shows that I was not documented, as I was not a documented immigrant, they're gonna round me up because I got my green card or my permanent residency technically illegally. And I got my citizenship technically illegally because I was not a documented person. So for everyone on the outside looking in, they're going to be like, how could you round up this citizen? This person has been a citizen for 20 odd years. How could you do it? You guys are doing wrong, blah, 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 blah. If you don't know what's going on the inside,
Right.
then that's how you're going to respond. And so
Yeah.
everybody gets panicky and anxious, thinking, oh my God, next is going to be me. But you were born there. So,
Right. But
I,
and you know why I have that fear too is because they've literally changed it for Los Angeles to where legally, and I've downloaded the PDF that says reasonable cause is simply because somebody is brown
Mhm.
or darker or has an accent. That's reasonable cause for them to be questioned or taken into a detention center.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's racial profiling, which was not okay 6 months
Yeah.
ago.
That
But now
is
it
true.
is. So to me,
Yeah.
what's it going to be in 6 months from now? You know, it is
Mhm.
my, and I'm probably just psyching myself up for that. But if they can put into a legal document that it's okay to racially profile someone
Mhm.
who gets disappeared and family don't know where they're at, do they get their medicine?
Mhm.
I mean, I've read a book about a gal that was ICE from like over 25 years ago.
Mhm.
They never made sure that they got their medicine.
Mhm.
So I don't know what happens today. There's a whole lot of questions, but it's very hard to watch.
Yeah.
To watch somebody just get taken down to the frickin' ground.
Yeah.
Old people, even, you know?
Yeah, that's not right.
What are you talking about taking a
Yeah.
child from their own frickin' graduation from their school campus? You see,
Yeah.
there's
That's not
things that have
right.
happened that are just
We
unethically wrong,
yeah.
and I'm not
I
cool with
agree
that.
with you, Linda.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally agree with you. The way that it's being done without dignity,
Hmm.
you know. And of course, when you hear someone with an accent, the first thing you're going to think is that that person came across the border illegally. So, with them saying that persons who are dark or brown and have an accent, then we're gonna, um, arrest this person. I think the wording on how they use their terminology can be refined.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
because,
And I hope it does get refined.
yeah, it should be refined, as well as the manner in which they take people in. It is too brutal. It is like
Yeah.
brute force. And
Hmm.
I think they're doing that to scare people into coming forward using brute
Yes.
force. I think that's what they're doing, which is unfortunate because there are different techniques that they can use to coax people to come forward
Hmm.
and not brute force. We've seen what brute force do to people. Brute
Yes.
force makes people act out, and we're not talking about the bystanders. We're talking about the person that the brute force
Sure.
is being used against.
Sure.
There might be a civil revolt, for want of a better word, the way how things are being done, and it might well start off in your province, in your
It's very,
state.
yeah.
It
It's
might start there, you know. So it's
to, to
it's
me, it represents somebody going to Los Angeles, and if they keep doing it, somebody's going to jump back bad at them, and
Mhm.
then we get to have um, martial law come
Yeah,
in, and just it's going to turn ugly. Another thing
yeah.
is, being that we've seen some of this stuff happen, what's happening for those of us that are viewing this is it's one trauma after another, after another, after another. This is also what happened to us when we were in the org.
Hmm.
This equals to complex, what is called complex PTSD. And it has not made it to the book of psychiatry yet, but it's a common term that's been used that's similar to PTSD for those that have been in war. But it's someone who still has the effects of PTSD through a different means. And what, people that have been in abusive relationships or high control cults or whatever, we witnessed stuff in the org. We experienced stuff in the org, and now we're seeing it happen in society at large. I don't know about you, girlfriend, but I didn't escape a freaking theocracy to watch the US looking like it's going to turn into one because of the way things are looking to me. So there's my gripe. And let's just hope it doesn't turn that way.
Yeah.
And one day I could just be like, yep, I was drama. I was freaking out. But
So this happens on a daily basis.
yes,
I
yes.
Yeah, that's
And
rough.
ICE looks badass. I mean, they're just, it's like when you go to war.
Hmm.
That's who's on our streets. We don't see who they are, which I get. They don't want people to know who they are because they have a family and they don't want their family, you know,
Yeah.
they don't want their home to be doxxed or anything negative to happen to family. I don't want anything negative to happen to their family, even though I'm pissed off at them as whoever, I'm pissed off with their actions. But it's just me being pissed off, whatever, whatever. I don't like the way it's going down, and I just hope it changes. And it's hard for our psyche too. So it's going to affect us. See,
Yeah.
when the org did that to us, it was for the purpose of creating a bond, a trauma bond, kind of like Stockholm syndrome. Okay, this is like what's also going on with us in society at large.
Yes.
So you see what I'm saying? It's dangerous.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
dangerous, and it's shouldn't be happening. But at the same time, I'm not the boss of what's going on here. I probably couldn't even hang if I was in the position of Trump. You know I'm not cut out for that. I'm a citizen sitting here going, I'm just not okay with it, and complain. But at the same time, I do believe Trump has done some good things. So again, I'm not a hater of Trump. Trump scares the crap out of me because under his administration, things are sure looking like the cult I grew up in. And I'm not digging that at all. Okay. I'm not digging that at all. And I'm hoping maybe it's just the pendulum swinging too far and it's going to swing back and I'm whatever. So I'm going to just calm down. I know,
Linda
I know.
Jane, can I chip in because
Yes.
I'm trying to put together a few or connect a few dots and things like that. And
Let me add one more thing. Immigration judges are being fired all the time. And what we've also been told is those that are in ICE, these people that we're seeing show up, I don't know how many of them, but they're going to be trained to be immigration judges. 6 months worth of training. I don't know if any of you heard Pixie, but Pixie had a boyfriend that was a lawyer. And she's like, why don't you become a judge? He's like, oh my God, no, it takes like tons of stuff to be a judge. So to me, 6 months, ICE getting trained in 6 months sounds like, to me, elders going to elder school for a weekend to become an elder, which is very different than the ordinary pastor going to seminary. You see what I'm saying? It just seems like there's going to be even more chaos. Okay, please add what's on your mind, Matthew. And I'm actually going to mute myself.
Well, I think there's a lot of emotion here in the discussion, and Groves provided a lot of insight because previous to your show, Linda, we were talking about the Congolese displacement here in Africa. And I look at that story from my involvement, spanning about 20 years. 20 years? 20 years. Actually more, 25. But I remember how it happened. We had JW Congolese living on the beach here. This is what happened. And they had fled Congo. So there was this whole mining of lithium for cell phones and Tesla vehicles and anything that's got a lithium battery. So your big mining operation up in Congo, there was war going on essentially for control of the mines. I mean, it was a whole replication again of what's been happening in the past 140 years at least. But it was this incredible displacement, and so all of these JW brethren fled and arrived on the beach, were living on the beach. And so my instruction from the branch was, what you're going to do is you're going to round them up and put them on the bus, and the branch will pay to have them sent to the border. The next branch will take over till they go back to Congo. That was the instruction. Okay? This is a mind blower, right? So here on the peninsula, I remember what occurred the congregation absorbed every single individual because we also had a so-called xenophobia problem that came up. So essentially, I'll give you what a lot of persons felt was the perspective. It was tribalism. So the Xhosa resented that your Shona tribe, your Indabele tribe, your Malawian tribe were all taking the jobs here, right? And they didn't like this. And so there was, I don't want to describe too much, but just it was violent, it was terrible. So anyway, I get given an instruction that congregants from up North Africa have all been identified. And I was given a time limit, I remember, of 4 hours to round up everybody that was from Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi. I'm going to say North Africa to make it easier for the audience. If I name names, it just gets tough for the audience to know what's going on. But from North Africa, I was told, identify everybody and get everybody out of the high density area. Don't concentrate them at a kingdom hall or at one different location. Scatter everybody. Scatter everybody. So do a head count, get everybody out of those high concentration areas. And that's what I did. Managed to pull it off in 4 hours. It was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. And everybody was absorbed by the congregation. So we would have a family living here and a family living there and a family living here. And it was expected to happen for about 2 or 4 weeks. 2 or 4 weeks went on to months.
Mm-hmm.
The congregation managed to feed. And the branch was saying, you're going to get these people onto the bus and we will get them out. So in other words, we were going to send them back to where they had come from, which they had fled, because it's war, and it was a pathetic war. I mean, they were sending in planes to mow down skinny people with pitchforks. It was desperate.
Why would the organization want to send Jehovah's Witnesses back to that area?
I'll tell you why. Because in the 1800s, late 1800s, remember Russell was taking his money out of the haberdashery, and instead of putting it into high interest accounts, it was going into land, it was going into miracle wheat, it was going into mining.
Okay.
So that was the JW interests in Africa, because Africa is mineral rich, which created the problem of, well, if our whole currency in the United States is in Fort Knox and it's linked to the gold, well, Africa's just got gold on the ground. You don't even have to dig deep. It's there. The kids bathing in the river can pull gold out of the river.
Wow. Okay.
And diamonds, which is why
gems.
De Beers diamond conglomerate, or that whole control thing, was set up. And they were pulling diamonds and setting them on fire because they wanted to create an artificial scarcity. Africa has been a big problem for the West because of its mineral wealth. And so your religious aspect came in, targeted your African scientists, for better description, or your custodians of knowledge, and killed them. Wiped them out. I mean, the British identified, that's what I was talking about in Nyasaland. They identified who had the minds that were able to pass on knowledge to the people and empower the people, from medicines to ancestry to oral tradition, you name it. And they targeted those people and killed them. That was what they did, because
Wow.
Africa was this threat on the Western economy. And so now your missionaries or persons who had bought shares into Watchtower, one of the ways that they increased wealth to do the missionary work. I mean, it's a whole cycle, was to get into the mining here in Africa. So using the Watchtower publications just for JW, but the same model was happening for SDA or Mormons, you know, all of these religions that popped up in the late or middle 1800s, was there to basically reprogram minds to get a slave labor, modern day slave labor. That's essentially what it is. And then use that slave labor to take away the mineral wealth that was available. I mean, this is how sophisticated it was. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, that's why you had your Watchtower in 1948 that was run by your indigenous African who took the literature from Watchtower and said, what's happened here is we're not even welcome in our own home continent. We can't move and we're subhuman. And I'll tell you how subhuman it was. The Namibians, the Khoisan, were treated as vermin. You would get a license, shooting license, to kill the sand. It was a sport.
My God.
There's only like about 100,000 left now.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So I see in the comments, oh, this is like Nazi Germany. Meet it in Africa. It's like it's playing out here, folks.
Yeah.
I don't know how useful that is to you. Then I realized when I was talking with Grow earlier, I'm seeing the same kind of pattern. Grow's right in the middle of it with all of that information, is seeing exactly all of those patterns playing out. Oh, I'm overwhelmed, Linda James. I don't know where to even start with it.
It is overwhelming because it's, you know, it's something that we don't have control over, but we see the injustice of it. And we want to be able to have some kind of say-so or be able to change it up. Being powerless over these things that we've come to realize is very hard for us. That especially, you know, those that are on the empathetic and compassionate side, and you know, some that don't get caught up in it. Great. You know, I'm not saying that they're not empathetic, but they can function better in life. Some that are just more empathetic or more sympathetic, it's harder to function. So it's important to take our own minds. Yes, I brought up all this stuff I'm not okay with. It's all stuff I have no control over. I can vote. Next month I can vote. There's my only way I can do anything. Because
it also taught me some other weird things, Linda James, like as somebody who doesn't have any paperwork. In other words, a child comes out of their mother's womb and touches the red dirt. Okay? No paperwork, no birth certificate, nothing like this. Right? Up in Nyasaland or Malawi somewhere.
Okay.
Well, guess what? They are allowed to travel anywhere through Africa. Border posts. Wow. What's that? Huh? What? Huh? If it doesn't have a fence, I can cross wherever I want. And the weird thing that I noticed, and I'm open to correction, is the governments identify that and they go, yes, that person is a child of Africa. Exactly what Gaddafi was saying. Yeah. And the persons who have got the birth certificates, they've got the problem.
Oh, fascinating.
How does this work? Yeah, because now I discovered there was this whole African law thing that goes on that's still respected, which is spiritual. So there's a kingdom in Zimbabwe called Manamatapa Kingdom. And it has the Zimbabwean bird. So it's like the Psi sign, you know, like for parapsychology, you've got that bird or the Psi symbol.
Okay. Yes.
A couple of wings, Psi symbol. Mm-hmm. So that is your ancient bird. Now, I discovered here on Cape Town that from the Manamatapa Kingdom, they've taken one of the birds that used to stand in that kingdom and it's down here in Cape Town. And I look at this and I go, well, why did Mandela, or why did they keep that symbol here in Cape Town? Because there's ancient law they recognize in the government. It's almost like there's several governments in one government, but they recognize that if you're part of that ancient culture, actually they can't, through natural law, they can't stop that person moving around. And when I hear what you're talking about, somebody who's not documented, or Grow talking about that situation where it comes back and it bites you, that's a system if you're wanting to enter into that system. And I'm going, does that person realize that if they come into that system, they're not the free person of that continent? It starts getting very complicated. So in other words, if you want to open a bank account or you want to start using that system, that's the problem. But if you are the natural person where your natural resources actually technically belong to you, you're allowed to forage, you're allowed to pick up the resources off the ground without asking any permission because you don't need to. That's the reality of the situation. These things don't apply to you. And I hear this from some of the persons who correspond with me right now up in North Africa, who are saying to me, Matt, we can travel to where you are. We can get on the bus. And people are telling us that we've employed witchcraft because the same rules that they're applying to them who have got maybe a document, some form of documentation, be it an entry through a border post, even a stamped temporary document.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't have those documents, they can't do anything with us.
Wow.
So you're talking about ICE. These are these immigration persons, right? And they have got power to enforce to a maximum degree. Well, here in Africa, when those persons detect somebody who doesn't have the paperwork and they see, oh, this is a natural born African without any of that paperwork, under actually technically a Western system that was used to control the people and create a slavery system, they can't do anything.
Why? I just need to tell you, Linda, and tell y'all good night, and then I'm fixing to go. And
Thank
then
you for kicking it with
it was like being with y'all here,
It's really good to have you.
and take care, y'all.
You too.
Dallas, it's a real pleasure being with you, eh?
You too. It's an honor, right? Yeah.
Good night. Sleep well.
Night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this and I kind of picture that even happening in parts of Australia, because of the indigenous culture as well as what's been, developed, but here in the US, we don't really have it the way you mentioned it, but there was a time when people could just come over here. If they got away over here, then they could just find some land and they were considered citizens. This process didn't start happening until just before like the mid 1800s or the beginning of the 1800s, I forget. Somewhere in the 1800s, it was the documentation was getting started and, procedure and all this stuff. But beforehand, if you could get over here on a boat, you got to go land somewhere on land and make it your own. I don't really know how all of that happened.
Yeah,
but
well,
it
that's
also
maritime law, isn't it, eh?
could be, and it involved us captivating the indigenous and taking over and stealing the land that they didn't even think of it as they owned it, but rather they looked after it. So I'm not real clear on how everything happened, but
Well, let me give you a parallel. I mean, if you went
Okay.
and shot indigenous Indians in America right now, what would happen with your population if they knew about that?
if they knew I shopped with indigenous
Yeah, you
Indians,
just go, it's the Wild West. We're going to shoot every Indian, every indigenous Indian that's around. Hopi tribe, the whole lot. Let's just wipe them out right now.
that's pretty much what
Guys
happened
will they'll go, this is,
at the beginning
what
of
the
the year.
hell? What
Yeah.
the hell are you doing? Okay, so let me tell you about the Sand People, because we're down to 100,000 now.
Hey guys, I
Yes.
just want to say something real quick.
Sure.
So I'm going to be stepping back from the video. I'll be listening on YouTube,
Okay.
but I need to get some sleep.
Okay.
Oh,
anything-
Gro, I'm sorry if
anything-
I've drowned you out, because your knowledge is
Oh no, that's fine.
ahead.
That's not a
Actually,
You are
problem.
so ahead.
She
Yeah,
does
that's
this
fine.
every Saturday night. I need to get some sleep. And then
Yeah.
we'll see her making comments. And in about an hour and a half, she's going to join us again.
Yeah.
At least that's what's
Gro,
happened.
it's always
few
good
times in
being
the
with you.
past. But
Yes,
tonight
it's
she might
been-
actually get to sleep and stay asleep. We don't know. Thank you for joining us. And
No
especially when I
problem.
got disconnected, you were just like, you were on it. Thank you, sis. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you for having me.
Sure.
Good night, Gro.
Good night.
And,
Sweet dreams.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
What are we talking about, Mr. James? Remind me.
There's a population that's hardly any anymore.
Yeah, the Sand People. So this is, so think of it in American terms, like going to one of the American Indian tribes and just wiping them out in modern times. Now, how do they get away with it here? Because we go, oh, shock history. Your Western guys used to rock up here and get a license to shoot the San as vermin.
Oh my God.
Right? So this is the history. We go, oh, this is terrible. Oh, humans, inhumanity. Oh, this is just terrible. Aren't we just awful? But we're more enlightened now. Well, I'll go, it's still happening. And you'll say, what are you talking about? I'll say, it's still happening because your natural forager, who's pulling roots out of the ground and eating it and living off subsistence agriculture or just what grows naturally. Okay? If there's some fence that's up and they are unaware of it, it's counted as trespassing. And if you're trespassing, then they say, well, we have a right to shoot you.
Right.
So that's your elimination. So why would they eliminate somebody who's a natural human, who's got a natural spirituality and has got knowledge of the land and who's nobody's problem? Why would they do that? Why is that a crime?
Sounds
Because
like
there's no control.
They know too much. Okay. Yeah. Power.
Yeah, there's no control because that's a natural human with their intuition. They smell the air. Oh, Linda James, I can smell you. I can identify your
Right.
scent. Do you know you honk? Do you know what? And Matt, you honk as well, white boy. So yeah, and they're going. You have, and that if you're
And we
going in the
probably
bush,
have very distinctive scents, very distinctive smells too.
I've been told that. I've been told, Matt, you've got this.
We smell you coming, sir.
You got this. We can smell you a mile away, boy.
Right.
So anyway, yeah.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
you come in with the Western idea, and you go hunting, for instance, or you want to catch an animal for food, or they're telling you, no, you have no idea. Come downwind here. You got no. You're making noise and . So you're talking about a people who are connected with their senses very much to the land. And I go, well, that was one of the things that I enjoyed in Special Pioneering, actually, was being thrown into one of these tribal trust land areas and told, well, you got no accommodation. You got to make your accommodation. Or I think there was somebody talking, was it Aaron? Talking about subsistence agriculture or getting in touch with planting your own food, and you saying, well, get on the internet and learn how to grow a potato, for goodness sake, and it's going to pop up out of the ground between 3 to 5 months. Well, that's what we had to do. We had to do that. We had to go find water, go find it, and make sure it's pure, know how to do that, and know how to grow your own food. And I got into a hell of a lot of trouble. We built our own Kingdom Hall.
Wow.
With our own materials, everything from scratch. I mean, we were living by a fire. I was going down to the river to collect water until the women had a protest and said, Brother Gray, Pastor Gray, you can't come down here. It's taboo culturally. Men do not go to the... Number one, you're going to see all the women bathing in the water down here.
Okay.
That's wrong. Yeah. And number two, women are connected to the moon and connected to water. It's not your job. You're fire. We're water, you're fire. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. And women, little skinny women were carrying water on their heads.
And when we women begin to bond, we even have our menstrual cycle around the same time. It's a real bond. So yeah,
but the women are telling you this is when it's going to rain, or we're in love and we cause the rain. Yeah. So I mean, those cultures there, you've got people so in tune, whether they say, some will say it's causation. They'll say we've caused that weather.
Oh, interesting.
Your witch doctors and your sangomas are telling you want a lightning strike over there. And you're going, what the hell just happened? Did you feel that? And at the branch, they actually gave us training. They actually said that, you can feel when the lightning's coming and, some of the signs to look out for and all this. But I'm just looking at the culture and to try and zip Matt up and tell him, shut up, we've heard enough from you. It's all about control again.
It is about
if you've
control.
got people who are a true free people with the true knowledge and their intuition and knowing what you can eat and following the monkeys, what they eat, and you go, if they eat that and they eat a pawpaw leaf, I'm going to eat a pawpaw leaf. They don't want that. They want somebody with the, Rockefeller education, where you were in school for I don't know how many years learning stupid stuff to keep you stupid.
I'll tell you what.
Okay, I'm shutting up now.
No, I hear what you're saying, and you're right. It's about power and control, and the stuff I'm experiencing is because there's areas that I'm watching happen that I have no control over, and it's just such a vulnerable feeling. But I know other people are going through this too, which is why I'm talking about it tonight. And I'm also bringing up, it's important for us to be in the moment and be aware of the things we do have control over. And I often joke about, I only have control over my eyebrows, meaning I can shape my eyebrows, right? But of course, it's more than that. What is it we can do where we live or who we're around? So we need to tap into the here and now, and not spend too much time in the area that I've just spent a whole bunch of time in, of all the stuff that we don't have control over, and tap into what you do have control over. So I do have some dried split peas. I can start some split pea soup tonight in my crock pot. That's something I have control over. So there's what I'm used to doing, and I was always doing this in the org, was worrying about the future, dreading the past, and not being in the moment, which means we miss life happening, is why I'm talking about this. We can still spend some time in these things, but not to get too caught up in them to where we're not living our life now. We're not in the moment for now. And when you realize you've spent too much time, yes, take some breaks, but also it's called mindfulness, mindfulness, where you can slow down, take a few deep breaths, tap into where you are at the moment, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling yourself in the chair that you're in, um, paying attention to the things that are around you. Tap into the here and now, because it's very, very, very easy to miss life right now when we're looking back at maybe some good memories or bad ones and fearing the future or looking forward to the future. And this was a zone I was used to being in all the time. Today I do it much less, but it's still too much for me to have a good. To me, I believe it affects my psyche negatively. That's why I'm sharing it. Because if that's what you're going through too, I'm encouraging you to zone back into the things you do have control over. Can you paint your own toenails? Can you brush your own hair? Can you enjoy a nice dinner? Whatever nice dinner is for you. Is it a $5 pizza from Pizza Pizza, or maybe a steak dinner at Outback? It's whatever you can do to be in the moment, and to be with friends, to be with family, those that are willing to be with you, and you are willing to be with them. We can't let that not happen, because we're so distracted with fearing the future and looking back. So looking back and looking forward and not staying in the moment. That's why I brought up this whole thing.
Well, you
yeah,
had me at painting my toenails.
speaking of painting toenails, painting nails is actually something men do now. And not all men, but Steve Tyler, which is the lead singer for Aerosmith.
Deep black.
What?
Deep
He
black.
he wears black nail polish, just a stripe on each one of his nails, black nail polish.
Okay.
So my daughter lives in Maui, and evidently he resides there sometimes or all the time. I don't know. He walks into Target, and my daughter was working there at the time. And she asked him, "Do you mind getting your picture taken? Can I have my picture taken with you?" And he's like, and she had green hair at the time, right? And he said, "With hair as cool as yours, absolutely." So he goes over and he puts his arm around her. And I swear to God, this picture looks like he's having much more fun getting his picture taken with her, because she's got the green hair and she's all posed, like giving a great smile, right? But just the joy on his face, and she sent it to me. It's a really cool picture. I'll have to post it sometime on probably Six Screens or something, or here on my
Well,
channel.
Linda James, that's my language. You know it. I'm the suppressed rocker.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Very suppressed rocker magician.
Ah, that's
So
what
all
it
that
is.
kind of stuff, the big hair and the black fingernail polish and lipstick, eyeliner, Bowie,
Oh yeah,
what's it?
yeah, David
Avant-garde.
Bowie. Yeah, okay, yeah. That was definitely our time. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but we're probably close to the same age.
Yeah.
And yeah, during that time, that was our time. During our teens and early 20s and stuff. Matter of fact, I can remember when MTV first started. Okay, and
That was Dire Straits, wasn't it?
what was the first song? Radio.
Dire Straits.
Yeah.
My MTV.
Yes. What was that first song that was played?
Mark Knopfler. Mark Knopfler was the guitarist.
Radio killed the something or another.
Buggles, eh? Yeah, radio killed TV killed the radio star.
Okay, I think that
Or
was the very
video
first.
killed the radio star. Video killed the radio star. That's the one.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we lost Ozzy, I think, last month. Ozzy Osbourne, who was originally in Black Sabbath, and then he had his own band with Randy Rhoads, who died early. And yeah, that was a time. That was a time. of unique music. I was born the very last year of the boomers. So, and if y'all think I'm a bit of a hippie at heart, y'all are right. Okay? Yes. But yeah. So basically, there's that. I wanted to go back to in 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 Washington. I started to talk about it and then I got off track. Sorry about that.
Sorry,
In
I'm not
Washington,
helping. I threw you off there.
you're all good. So it was passed for clergy penitent privilege to where priests and elders and pastors and stuff, if they received someone confessing CSA, they would have to be mandatory reporters and have to report it. With the Catholic priest, if they report it, they become defrocked, meaning they lose their position as a priest, and there's no way they're going to do that. What they end up doing is getting a whole bunch of their followers. I know I'm not saying that correctly, but they get them all scared and get them to sign something, and eventually it goes up and up and up. And I recall Trump saying that this thing was actually an anti-Catholic bill, because that's what the Catholics called it, anti-Catholic. But we as Jehovah's Witnesses were actually looking forward to this because we try this all the time to get it to where clergy has to report CSA. Now, what the organization did a while back is say, okay, it's been reported. Was there a second witness? So that's actually what they're doing, is a sleight of hand stall. Okay? No, there wasn't a second witness. Well, our hands are tied. There's nothing we can do about it. Or they'll go to the person and ask, is this true? And if they confess yes, then they can't report it because it was done during confession. Okay? So either way, they're getting blocked. Mind you, there's a rule within Jehovah's Witnesses that if one has a spouse that is cheating on the other, unless that other spouse that's doing the cheating confesses that they've cheated, the spouse that's not is not spiritually available to remarry. Okay? Now, do the elders do the investigation work? Maybe. But the way it usually is that the spouse that's getting cheated on has to get the confirmation that they're getting cheated on. Now, do they have to catch them in the act? No, they don't. But if they find their car at somebody's home where they suspect it might be happening, and that person is there until 4 a.m., that's considered that there has been adultery that has happened. Okay? So they get to do whatever they have. They usually bring another JW to be a second witness. Then they report it to the elders, and then they get to be over all this, I don't know, rigmarole stuff. Then they have the spiritual freedom to not only leave the person, but to remarry. But that doesn't.
We were okay until we saw all the crooked stuff, Linda James.
Yes.
Paradise and heaven, it was all great. It was all rosy. Read
Yep.
your Bible, get down on your knees, pray, do your field service until the crooked stuff hit.
Yes, and Aaron spoke earlier about what really happens, not only with this religion, but with others too, is we end up becoming slave labor. Okay?
Yeah.
A labor that we do because we want to please Jehovah. It's presented to us in a manner of, this is serving Jehovah, which most Jehovah's Witnesses have a heart and want to do this. For the most part, Jehovah's Witnesses are good people. My problem is with the governing body. Okay? the way they hand down these things and claim that they're speaking for God and blah, 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 which ends up deceiving the rank and file Jehovah's Witness to do things that they ordinarily wouldn't do. But they actually believe it's Jehovah giving them these instructions, so they do it. Okay? Or they believe they're pleasing God. They have heard that going door to door, the preaching work is a mandate. It's mandated from God, so they do it, whether they like doing it or not. Where am I going with this? Anyways, if we didn't find out that the leadership or the organization as a whole benefits financially because of what we were deceived to believe we were doing because of our love for God, I don't think it would be that big of a problem. But because that's what got used on us, and, we ended up having a subscription for the Watchtower and Awake. Everybody in the home did. They made their money off of the followers first. So we were really used to build their empire. They got their empire built off of the backs of us. That's what is a shame. Going to church, having fellowship with others that have a belief in God is a beautiful thing. And that's something we do because we have a relationship with God. Going to church doesn't make it to where you have a relationship with God. It's because you already do. So you want to gather with those that believe in God, okay? It's very much the same thing as if you like bowling and others like bowling. So you get together with people who like bowling and y'all bowl together, okay? It's just like that. It's because you love it to bowl to begin with. And that's why you guys have time to hang out and spend time together. Now, if we're used by the bowling alley and they're making money off of us, we probably won't want to be a part of that any longer. When deception is used to benefit the bowling alley financially. You see what I'm saying? I'm just making a comparison. But anyways, people that leave this organization, those of us that were born in, we are developmentally and socially stunted. Maybe not developmentally, but socially stunted, because when we were growing up, if we could have pursued some of our own self-interests and got to do them, we would have socially developed our own identity, who we truly are, okay? But because it was labeled as not a good idea because it would be done with other people that are not Jehovah's Witnesses, let's say the basketball, you can't be on the basketball team after school, extracurricular activities were forbidden because it would be with people that we labeled worldly. A Jehovah's Witness couldn't join the team, okay? Where the Jehovah's Witness could have been socializing, and they would have developed socially and would be developing their own identity because they were doing something they enjoyed. For somebody else, it could have been painting butterflies after school for the butterfly club, okay? Because we were told that what's more important is to do kingdom interests, which was to go door to door or whatever, do a quick build or whatever. That was what was promoted. And what that did was develop in us an identity as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay? So that was promoted to grow, an identity of being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. The opportunity to grow our own authentic self never really had a chance to develop, didn't really have a chance to grow socially. I'm talking about people, those of us that were born in or that came in during any time of their developmental years, like from 18 and under. So when we first leave this organization, yes, we're bold, good for us, but we're not really we're not really equipped to function in society at large because we did not get to develop during the years that we were growing up. So what we got to do now is catch up. It's our responsibility now after we leave to pursue some of our own self-interests. Okay, we might do something for a while and decide, yeah, that wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be, and you're kind of over it. Move on to something else you're drawn to. Okay, what you're drawn to is going to be or can be something very different than what I'm drawn to. Okay, what we're drawn towards is part of who we are. The more time we get to spend doing the things we're, our own self-interest, things we are naturally drawn towards, that's going to build our own sense of identity. And if you picture it like you develop it, much like we used to take film to a developing center, and then we'd pick it up and it was developed and we could see the clear picture. That's actually what we're doing. If you kind of picture it like we are developing who we authentically are, picture it just kind of, slowly starting to show that picture of who we become because we're now creating it. I hope I'm making sense.
Can I read John Marciano's comment?
Sure.
It says, Linda is explaining exactly how I grew up.
Yep. Yes. So if we're having a hard time assimilating in society at large, this is normal for us because we are socially stunted. So this is normal for us. So what we do is we go out and do things. Give yourself permission to make mistakes, okay? Give yourself permission to make wrong choices and good choices, because that's where we're going to gain our wisdom, okay? When we make wrong choices, we might get some negative consequences from our wrong choices. That helps us to change that behavior, okay? Especially if we get a consequence like running a stoplight. We get a ticket from a police officer. But we're allowing ourselves to develop into who we truly are. And that's, to me, the goal of healing in our journey. If somebody is attracted to a belief system that is not Christianity, not Jehovah's Witnesses, that's what they're attracted to. That's what they're going to do. Let them, try not to get in their way. And I'm not promoting cult hopping, which we tend to do very easily. Okay. Same thing if we get in bad relationships with abusive people. Guess what?
Yeah.
We go out and end up with another one that's abusive and have no clue how this happened. It happened because we were groomed as a Jehovah's Witness child to being in a relationship with someone that's abusive, because we were groomed in the watchtower with an abusive society. Okay.
Yes.
So give yourself some grace with the mistakes you make. It's okay to make the mistakes. It's okay to make the good choices and get the consequences of the good choices. You may become filthy rich because you made some wise choices. The organization has taught us to not chase wealth. But if you notice, what they would call wealth was not really wealth. Okay. It would be any kind of like getting, what they were really saying is, what they were not saying is, we do not want you to become independent enough to not have to rely on us. Okay. The organization needs us, or their followers, to be dependent on them. Okay. The more dependent the followers are on this organization, the more they have control over them. But if we develop and become our true authentic self, the more we do this, we're going to be shedding certain things that we once held dear, but were abusive mindsets, and we'll shed them along the way, if that makes sense. Like, even after I left the org, I was making decisions that were self-sabotaging because the way I was conditioned to behave was labeled being a good partner or being a good wife. And I was actually setting myself in a position to be screwed over. Okay. I was literally sitting myself in that position. Basically, I should have had a neon sign that says, "Come screw me over," because I'm just going to take it. Why? Because the organization labeled that behavior that I was attempting to do as being a godly wife. Okay. So I thought I was being godly. And man, that took a while for me to shed that belief system. Okay. We all do it on our own timing. Whatever we shed, different people shed different things at different times. So over time, things shed. So be kind to yourself, give yourself grace, let yourself develop, within yourself who you authentically are by making these choices that you make, and trying different things that were forbidden. If your conscience can be okay with it. Like I was talking about voting earlier. When you give it some thought. If it still goes against your conscience, by no means don't force yourself to do it, because I suggest it. But if it does seem like something you'd like to do, look into it, read up about it, find out who the choices are to vote for, see if that person benefits you and what your life is. Would that person, be someone that is going to benefit you and what goes on in your life? If you're a parent, if you're a senior, things like that. It's wise to make choices that are in your best interests, because what we've been trained to do is make choices that have been in other people's best interests. And it was done by deception. And today we don't have to do that, is basically what I'm saying. And I'm on this journey with you. That's why I share some big screw ups that I've done and some really good choices that I've done, because I want you to know that I'm right there with you in this journey of healing, and to not have shame. Oh, so I remember a while back, I was like so bummed that I couldn't get to an ex Jehovah's Witness meetup because nobody gave me a ride. Then it took me like another week to figure out, wait a minute, I could have taken an Uber. Okay, so this victim mindset that I had, I could have got my ass in the back of an Uber and I could have paid for it and got myself to the XJW meetup. And I wasn't thinking that way a week before, right? I was in this whole...
Yeah, because you're not independent at all.
Right? So I'm just like, oh, I have no life because people won't take me. And I was truly hurt. I was truly, truly hurt. So I downloaded Uber before this meetup from last weekend. And I'm all proud of myself, and I'm looking at it. And there was a section there that, like, a child could pay for their parent or whatever. So I'm a senior now. And my daughter, my oldest one, has a husband with no kids. They both work. And I decided to give my daughter a call and say, would you and your husband like to sponsor me to get a ride to the XJW, meetup? Just thought I'd run it past him. But in my mind, I knew I was going to save up the amount that it was going to take for me to get there and back. I was checking to see how it was. But when I asked her, she wanted to. So that's another thing. Asking for help is not easy, but sometimes people are equipped to help us and are happy to help us. So we got it all set up to where I can take Uber someday in the future. I was going to take Uber, but what ended up happening was another child of mine, who is mine by adoption. I don't mean paperwork, I mean by love. She grew up with my oldest daughter, the one that's in Maui and stuff. She came, picked me up, and took me to this ex Jehovah's Witness meetup. And I was there for like 4 hours. and picked me up and took me home. So it turned out to be not costing my daughter anything and not costing me anything. Okay. So this whole, you know, things that seem out of what you usually do. I just want you to I just want to encourage you to do these things by me letting you know some of the stuff that took courage for me to do. Okay? And yes, I'm old enough to where I should have already had this stuff figured out, but you know what? I'm socially stunted and I didn't have it figured out. And that's normal. And if you function and realize that you're socially stunted, please know that this is normal if you were raised within this organization or even became a Jehovah's Witness for a certain amount of time and you didn't even grow as an adult. You know, I compare it to when somebody starts taking drugs and they go into rehab eventually. What you're taught is that the age that you were when you started taking your drugs, you still remain that age mentally, and because you lost some of your neurons. But once you're off of the drugs, neurons do grow back. Is what you learn when you're in rehab. But you need to give yourself some grace because all these years that have gone by and you should have been gaining wisdom, you weren't able to because of the drugs that you were doing stunted you. So same thing with being in the organization. It stunted us. I hope that's making sense. Do you have
Linda
some-
James, there's a comment that's coming in from Grow. She says, "Hi, Aaron." And I'm thinking about Aaron. Aaron's been quiet here.
I was just
Should we
gonna
give
ask
you a
Aaron.
way in?
Yeah, I was going to ask Aaron what he thought about what I've been sharing.
Unless he's just
Yeah,
happy to chill.
I've just been listening and kind
Okay.
of doing some things around the house, but yeah, just listening. Which part did you want me to kind of touch on?
Ooh,
Have you-
it's as deep as you can go, Aaron.
Well,
you-
how
were you-
about your when you sign up for Uber and the sponsor? Could you explain a little bit more about how that works? Because I'm actually I drive for Lyft, and I'm technically signed up for Uber to drive for them, but
Okay.
I haven't done it yet. So, but I've done a lot of Lyft trips.
I use the term sponsor as just a term to make it seem like I'm a worthy cause. So even though Uber had this section to where, like, let's say a parent needs to get to the doctor or whatever, the child that's an adult child can pay for that Uber for them. So
Right.
there's a section in Uber that allows that, and it's called a family program. And the child who's probably in their 40s or 50s, moms in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, can put a price limit, up to $30, up to $80, or unlimited. So I get to take a ride, and my daughter has it set up with her card and everything, and they pay for it. What my daughter has told me is try not to make it go over $100.
Mm.
So if it does go over $100, she said very much, to just let her know. So she and her husband can function okay with $100 missing someday. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to take the Uber all the time just cause, but for something important that I want to do, like the XJW meetup, or maybe I need to go to the doctors or something, or maybe I went somewhere with somebody else and I got stranded. I know I have peace of mind that I can get a ride home because my daughter, even if I don't have the money, because my daughter has it set up on what's called a family plan to where they will pay for it, and they have her card and everything.
And you can set that up within from your side of the app.
She had to from her side of the app, and then so it was kind of like once she set it up, I opened up my app and it said that they wanted me to join the family thing, and I tapped on that, and showed that I joined it. So everything
Yeah.
she did, I opened it up to where I could receive that.
Because I know that I don't know if Lyft has that anything like that, and they do have similar things, but Lyft has just now rolled out the using a PIN to start your ride, and Uber's had that for a long time. So yeah, it's interesting.
A pen?
Linda
What does that mean?
James.
Yes.
It's yeah,
Let me hear what Andrew said about a pen with Lyft. Hold
yeah.
on
It's
just a second,
just
Matthew.
it's a PIN that they provide for the rider, and they have to verbally give it to the driver. I guess it's just an identification type of thing
Oh, that's
to make
kind of
sure
a
you're the right
safety.
person. Yeah,
Oh, a safety thing. I like that.
yeah.
Okay. So I would get a pen 1, 2, 3, 4. You would pick me up. I'm not sure if you're legit. Can you tell me the pen? And you would say 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'd know where it's a
Well, no,
legit
it's
pickup.
the other way around. The rider has to give the driver the PIN so they can start the ride. Just
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. That's impressive, actually. Thank you.
Yep.
Can you tell me what you were going to say, Matthew?
No, I was actually happy that, excuse me, Aaron was chipping in, and sorry, the had a few blank spots, and I didn't realize I'm actually interrupting there. So sorry about that. My apologies. I'm also just looking at the chats as well, Linda James, and wondering if we can catch up a little bit, because I think there's Amber Thing who's wanting to know a little bit more about Aaron. It says, I missed the first hour of the chat. Who is Aaron?
Aaron's
So
cool
sounds like
people.
you're a mystery.
I was actually gonna type that in the chat as a response to that, but it wasn't actually me that talked about that. Being a slave for the watchtower. I don't know who that was,
Oh,
but
okay then. Forgive
yeah.
me.
But I mean, I agree with it. But I think on a grander sense, we're kind of slaves to the system as a whole. Unless born with a trust fund or something like that. And if you look at the fact that real wages, haven't kept up with inflation for at least the last 25 years, well, that's why
Right?
most people's standard of living is dropping. Because nominally, okay, I've got $20, but that $20 doesn't buy me today what it bought 20 years ago. And that's
Mhm.
that nominal confusion piece. But I'm just, I'm nobody special. I mean, I grew up in the religion and, the organization, and I left about when I was 23, so yeah, almost 20 years ago now. And but I mean, it still affects me in a lot of ways. So in a lot of ways, I'm still trying to develop a good social circle and all that kind of stuff. But it's all work in progress.
As soon as somebody says I'm nobody special, I pay attention.
Yeah.
Actually, I follow Nobody Special Finance on YouTube. That's actually his YouTube channel's name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, knew that would uncover something.
And that's a weird place to go where, well, not weird, but foreign, especially for us to go and to really say, I am somebody special. That just seems so out of character for how we've been trained to think of ourselves. Like that would be considered prideful, maybe. But in fact, you are someone special, Aaron. And so is Matthew, and so am I. And I
Or
think
maybe
it's a
unique is
huge thing.
better.
Yeah,
Unique.
very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Yeah.
It's changing the polarity, isn't it? That's what it is. It's not necessarily the word. It's just going, oh, yeah. So it's okay to feel good about yourself.
Absolutely. And the more we...
I ended up getting married in the org when I was 20 and got divorced when I was 26. So I've been through kind of a lot. And I disassociated at some point between 06 and 09, I guess.
Did you have any children?
No kids.
Okay.
So far.
Yeah. It's so much, not to say that losing a spouse isn't tough, but it is much tougher when there's children involved.
That's for sure. And she wasn't like a vindictive person, you know. When we got a divorce, she just kind of calculated everything that would be kind of her portion of what we had together. And so, you know, she's like, you give me this. And then after that, a little while after, she's like, you know, give me like 10 predated checks towards so I can cash them like at the beginning of every month. And at first I'm like, oh, you know, I didn't want to agree to it. But then she's like, you know what I could do if, you know, if I wanted to. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I did that, and you know, she was good with it. And I think that's how most people should try to solve their disputes, if it's possible to keep the legal system out of it, you know. But I I don't know. I don't know why people don't. It's just, you know, people want the government to work out their problems for them. But what if the government collapses? Then they're going to have a whole host more problems than that.
Yeah, that's actually commendable that the two of you were able to do that, because you can, you know, actually do it yourself, the file for divorce and stuff. Um, why do you why do you think that was the case, that the two of you didn't work out? May I ask, or is that getting too personal?
You know, looking back, a lot of it was, well, she was a few years older than me, but I don't really think that was a big deal. But I think it was mostly my struggle to come to terms with moving away from home for the first time, as well as not having that period where I got to decide what I really believe in, what I would really stand for. You know, I was 20, 21 at the time I moved out, and I never lived on my own until we got divorced 6 years later. So it was it was getting hitched too early to someone that I really didn't get to know that well. Um, we kind of had different perspectives on life in a lot of ways. Um, and I've the two major relationships I've had in my life was, one was her and the other was in the teens, you know, from like 2015 to 2020. They were similar in that we just didn't have, you know, we were kind of looking in different directions, I guess. So you just grow apart. I guess that's what it was.
Yeah,
But I've come to terms much more about myself and what I would like out of life now that I'm, you know, in my 40s than I was then. So
oh my God, you look so young for 40, but okay. You really
yeah,
look young.
I'm 42.
Wow. Okay.
But I have some secrets, and I always tell people when they say that I look younger that I'm going to wait until I'm in my 90s and publish a book, you know.
Oh my God. Wow. What would the book be about?
Short stories, perhaps. I don't know. If I
Well, Aaron, you've totally thrown a spanner in the works now with your age. I'm flabbergasted. So I'd like to know what medication you're on. I would like to know what mushrooms you're taking. What are your secrets?
Maybe I should get a little closer to the camera. You know, I do have a few patches.
You're just looking better and better and better. What are you trying to prove here?
Uh-oh.
I mean, you know, if I had a beard, it might look similar, especially down here.
That's my story. I just keep a beard that I look like 100 years old.
Yeah, Eric. If you know Eric, he used to run the show on Saturday on 6 Screens. He looks pretty good for his age too, especially his hair. He has a lot less gray hairs than I do, even, believe it or not. And I was a little jealous of him for that when I saw that. And he's like, "Yeah, my beard looks like I'm, you know, 60. So don't push it. You know, I'm happy with my hair the way it is."
Yeah, we used to host a show together, Eric and I, for a bit. It was enjoyable too. I like him. And I'm
Yeah.
really,
Well, Aaron,
really
thanks
glad
very
he
much
got
for
married.
bringing your chill.
For bringing what?
Thanks for bringing chill.
Mm. Yeah, lightening up the mood. You mean? Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm all for that. Yeah. I was texting Eric last night actually, and because I hadn't talked to him in a long time. But I
I'm
guess
happy
he's
for
busy
him
with.
that he got married. I'm
Yeah.
very happy for him.
Yeah. I didn't ask him about his family life, but yeah, it was nice to see that.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you're in touch with him. That's very cool. Matthew, Eric has got like a very long beard, and
Oh yeah,
he has a very unique look.
ZZ Top.
Yeah, kind of along that line, but it's brunette. Yeah. How
Okay.
long have you been growing yours, Matthew?
For as long as I was sick, 2 years.
Okay.
Because I couldn't talk and I was losing my hearing and couldn't see. I was finished. So yeah,
Okay, that's 2 years.
2 years.
Alrighty. Hair, from most people, their hair grows about a half an inch every month, and I'm not sure how fast a beard grows.
Well, this is about 5 to 6 days for me right now. So,
Okay.
if I was to grow it for a month, it would be, out to here, I guess. I'm actually considering what I want to do for Movember because when I worked at Amazon years ago, at my previous building, there was a PA named Terry, and he says, well, Movember is actually a thing. It's you replace the letter N with M, so it becomes Movember. And how it works is you shave your entire face on the first, and you let your beard and or mustache. Well, you have to keep the mustache, but you can keep the beard too if you want. But it's basically like a nod towards men's health, I guess. So
Okay,
it's a
that's
cool
right.
thing.
Okay. I usually catch on about 6 weeks after y'all started that. I didn't realize it's
So
even happening. Okay.
yeah, so I'm curious how long my mustache would be if I let it grow until the end of November. It would probably be pretty bushy.
Okay. Amber says, Born JW. Okay, Born JW is here. Oh, she's talking about Born JW. And Gross says, you look great, Aaron.
Yeah, I thanked her thanked them in the chat.
Happy Thoughts says, I've been asleep, so I've missed a lot of the chat. Happy Thoughts always keeps up with stuff. By the way, Miss Happy, I think Happy Thoughts is a woman. She's like on it. She knows stuff.
I wonder
Born
where
JW.
Debbie's been. I haven't seen Debbie.
She came.
Maybe more.
Debbie
Yeah.
Moore on Wednesday. She showed up on Joe and Fran's channel. She was having a tough day, and she was able. It was like her turn to just say how life has been hard lately, and it was, a good thing because she was able to just be like, all of this stuff has been adding up, and it's just been really too heavy on me. And she actually had a good cry, and it was really cool to see people just be with her in the moment. Nobody was trying to stop her from crying, and I thought that was amazing because we knew she needed to just have a good cry and mention the things that were upsetting her. And but yeah, she'll show up. Sometimes she'll show up on this show sometimes if she's awake, but I haven't. And she, of course,
Some of
comments
the
with all
stories
caps.
really stayed with me there.
Say that again, Matthew.
Sorry, I chipped in at the wrong time. I don't mean to do that. Every now it goes blank and I get caught out. Sorry about that.
No worries, I missed what you said.
I was saying her story. It's really stayed with me. It was her relative or her son who had the brain operation.
Yes. Yes.
You see, and this is the society we live in. We think we're doing the right thing, and then we wake up and it's horrifying, and we're going, "Man, we let this happen."
She actually, from what she told me, she sold her like almost all the possessions that she had to help her son with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That was yeah, she was talking about that. And she's mentioned this many times, so I don't feel like I'm gossiping or anything, but she was talking about how her son had a tumor and he was operated on at the age of 11, and he has not been the same since. He has been able to function, but he just hasn't been the same since. And um and then he's made some choices that turned out pretty bad, and that ended up not that ended up to where things were to where she needed to protect her daughter and her grandkids. So it's really tough when you love one of your kids but they're acting out in a way that's pretty dangerous. And so her daughter was just like, you need to pick us or him. And I get why she said that, but at the same time, for a mother's heart, that's hard to do, even when you know it's probably the right
Yes.
thing to do, for not only the safety of her daughter and her grandkids, but even for her own safety. Um, that was a very, very tough thing for her to do. Um, and then she, has since then, and I would say that was about, I don't know how long ago that was, but it was during the time he was an adult. And so she really didn't get to hear from him, and when he would ask to come home, she had to turn him down, and it was incredibly hard for her, especially because the tumor he's had, so he's got some disability things going on. But she ended up getting a phone call from wherever he was at, asking certain things about him so that they could work on him or take care of him medically. We don't know if it was a doctor's office calling or if he was like in a halfway home or maybe in rehab, or who knows. She didn't get to find out who was calling her, but they were asking for all kinds of info because they could not stop the things he kept having. I forget what they're called. Seizures. He kept having seizures, and so she was in the middle of a shopping trip and didn't have all that info in front of her. So she kept asking, how is he doing? Is he okay? And because of HIPAA law, the person who called her was like, we can't tell you because of HIPAA law. So if he would have signed something to wherever he could, or that person could have given his mother the information, if he would have signed something ahead of time, yes, that person would have been able to tell her. But I don't think he thought of doing that, and he keeps having seizures. So I don't think he was in a position to sign something even then. So, she had to hear just barely anything. They can't stop the seizures. She gets home, she gets the info, leaves these messages. It was just a really disturbing thing because she didn't get to know whether he was helped or not, to where he was better. Last thing she heard was they can't stop the seizures. And that was very tough for her. His birthday was coming up, so he was on her mind. And then a cat she has, is going to be dying because the cat has cancer. Yeah. What were you going to say, Matt?
I was going that I liked how you were focused on the community reaction with what her needs were.
Yeah. Yeah, she just needed to be able to cry about it and talk about it. And, that was really, to me, that was comforting because it was a safe place to do that. And again, I did not hear or read anybody try to stop her from crying. They just was like she was in the moment. They had the space opened up for her, and that was recent. It was actually this last Wednesday. Yeah.
She actually sends me pictures of her leg once in a while, and
Me too. Yeah.
it just seems like it's taken. It just seems like it's not healing, or it's
Right.
taking a long time to heal.
Yes. Yes. So for those that don't know, she has been wheelchair bound for quite a while now, and there was an injury she gotten on her leg, and it got worse and worse and worse down to the bone. Okay, so there's an opening on her leg. So when she sends us a picture, we're seeing the flesh, but we're also seeing her bone, and it's above her foot. If you picture this, the foot, it's like about right here on her leg. So we have seen it healing somewhat, but it's like it's quite shocking, if you're a bit squirmy. But that something open like that, any kind of infection can get into it. It makes her prone to, um, you know, becoming septic and stuff like that. So there's people there where she lives that can wrap the wounds properly and everything. She does not have to do it. So that's good that nurses take care of that for her. But she'll get a picture in between. That's a good thing. And I'll get a picture
So
of
give
it
you
too.
some hope.
Say that again?
Shall I provide you some hope?
Sure.
So my grandmother was in her 90s. She was the kind of person that was playing sport till about 91, 92 years of age. Yeah, go play. Aaron, what? Yeah, she was playing sport up to 90. Very self-sufficient, get in her car, buzz off, go to a party with friends, fight over a boyfriend, that kind of thing.
Man, woman after my own
Yeah.
heart. Okay.
Tremendous reader, reading lots of books, 91, 92. And she got cancer at 92, 93. And that was a hectic thing. And it went down to the bone, Linda James. And I remember the surgeon saying, man, we're going to have to take off this leg. And only because, as she was a woman, they tried to save it. But that went down to the bone. And I had no idea that if you dressed it and cleaned it, that even in your 90s, the flesh could reassert itself and it would all grow back. And she went from bedridden to wheelchair to walker to walking stick to getting on a flight down to Cape Town and visiting me.
Wow.
She died at 97, but I think if she had lived with us as family, she would have lived longer. But the fact is, her flesh grew back.
Okay.
I don't want to be too graphic, but her bone would bleed, and that was a good sign. And when that happened, the flesh grew back from the bone.
That's fascinating.
Have you ever heard of that?
No, and I don't know medical
Wow.
stuff, so that is encouraging. Yes, thank you. Wow.
97. Wow, that's pretty good.
I just
So
want
that
to
was like betadine every day. It was just keeping it all very clean and dressing the wounds every day. Yeah.
I just want to be
Get
like
on
your grandma was a badass.
Yeah, I must dig up a photo of her so that you can see her.
So
But
awesome.
yeah, incredible, I reckon. And her mother lived to 106.
Oh my gosh,
and-
it's in
and
the
her-
genes.
Yeah, and it was like piping up, joking with the family, yakking, and hey guys, I'm gonna go to bed. And she would sleep with her hands under her head like this. And she went to bed and she died in her sleep like that. So she's talking to people, and that's how she
Wow.
died. That's how they do it.
Wow. Rick
Yeah.
Farron his father is gosh, he's older.
101.
Oh, thank
101.
you. He's 101. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I'd
it's
love
in
to
Rick.
meet him.
I know, right? It's in Rick Farron's genes. You've got it in your genes. You know,
I have it. I have it too. A
do
lot of
you?
my uncles, the uncles on my dad's side, were well into their 90s. In the 90s. I doubt they're all. I doubt any of them are still alive now. But I doubt my grandfather's still alive now. I mean, if he was, he'd be like 104. Probably he's probably gone. But like my grandmother lived to be 92. That was his boy. That was my grandfather's on my dad's side's wife, and they were married until technically married until you know she died. I guess they were just separated. So people never got
Uh,
divorced back then. They just
yeah,
stayed separated.
yeah. And that would happen. Yeah, absolutely. And and the older a couple will get, I don't know if you've noticed, but like sometimes a couple that's been married for years, they'll have separate bedrooms in the home. Like they literally don't sleep together anymore, basically because their routines have become so different. One of them's going to sleep at a certain time, one's still staying up doing a puzzle or whatever, wanting to watch the movies, or their routines are just so different. But they'll have separate rooms. It's not uncommon. I'm not saying everybody does once they get, older, but some do. I used to think that was the oddest thing in the world, but it does happen. I'm going to close this down in about 15 minutes. So I'm wanting to open things up to where Aaron and Matthew can share whatever's on your mind before I close things
Well,
down.
I was going to say, Linda James, it's normally traditional. You come in with your wise words of wisdom. And I want to say thank you very much for letting me chill out with Aaron here and the gang, the gang, Amber, and Happy Thoughts, and Shaq, Dehydrated Nurse. Who else? Oh, Grow, who's sort of using this for sleep therapy. Purple as well. Who else have we got there for mentions? Aaron Hubbard also joined us
That's
back
me.
from the grave. Oh, is
That's
that
me.
you?
That's him. Mhm.
How'd you get a name, Aaron Hubbard? Because that was my territory where Lafayette Ron Hubbard was.
Well, I, L. Ron Hubbard, as we know, he was the founder of Scientology, right? And I guess David Miscavige is the one that was his protege and is running it now. But that that handle has a long story behind it. So back in 2006, I had been working with Amazon for about a year at the time. Now, if I had stayed there, I'm still working with Amazon now, but if I had stayed consecutively, I would have, about 21 years in the company now. But, I have about 12 to 13, I guess, overall. But anyway, I worked with a guy named Sean Porter, and we worked in the, pack department. And me and him on numerous occasions would kind of run the department by ourselves when it was really slow during the summertime, because all we really did back then was pack books, media, CDs, DVDs, things like that. I mean, that's what Amazon sold back then for the most part. They hadn't really broadened out to all the sectors that they're in today. So when it got slow in our department, me and Sean would just run things to where the orders that needed to get out would get out. And one day he just started calling me A. Ron Hubbard, and it stuck with me all this time.
Wow.
So yeah, every time I use that, now and then I think about Sean and what he might be up to.
Ron Hubbard is like a nickname given to you.
And
Thanks
I
for
like
the
it too
story.
because Yeah, and I like it too because it kind of symbolizes my exit from, the cult, right?
Yes.
Because when people ask about it, they're like, "Oh, are you with Scientology?" Usually, that's what people ask when they see my handle, and I'm like, "Well, no, but I did come from a cult, so I am a cult survivor technically, but you know,
You know that paper that y'all pull on and put it into packages when you pack up stuff? That
the prime tape.
it's like paper bag color paper.
Oh, yeah, it's like packing material.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yep.
I make beads out of that. See
Wow.
Hey,
this?
hey.
I do upcycling is what they call this. So
Oh, wow.
I made stripes out of them. Then I put Mod Podge on them, and then I put resin on them. Well, I put a nail decal sticker that's gold, and then I added resin over that, and I've got these really cool beads I made out of that packing material.
Nice.
Isn't
Linda,
that just
James, and Aaron, I'm going to say go well and good night. And I'm going to say to the audience, thank you very much for being together like this. It's a real appreciation just hanging out and chilling and listening to all the different viewpoints and all that. So thank you very, very much. I'm going to withdraw, and Linda, James, I'll leave you with Aaron to close down or whatever it is that you want to do.
All
okay?
right.
Thank
See
you
you
for
later. Nice meeting you.
displaying those pictures tonight, Matthew. Those are amazing. Those paintings that you've done.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see that. Looks nice in the
Well,
background.
thanks very much. Good being with you. Look forward to being with you again. Have a good week.
Take care.
Bye.
I wanted to tell everybody thank you for tolerating my intro today. I just
It
could
was a
not
little.
stop.
It
I
was a
could
little
just,
deep. I gotta
yeah,
say.
yeah. And then I had to just bring myself in, bring myself in. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you, John.
So yeah,
I appreciate you guys in the chat. The stuff you come up with is so awesome. And you know what? I'll tell you what. Being that I don't have a car, Amazon is my thing. Okay. Anything I need will show up at my front door for me because of Amazon. My
nice.
groceries, my toilet paper, paper towels, cooking oil, batteries, the coffee I'm drinking in this cup. A matter of fact, this cup, okay?
Mm.
And these glasses, everything I buy for the last couple of
Hopefully,
3 or 4
hope,
years has been
hopefully
from
everything you're
Amazon.
getting is a good deal. Hopefully,
hmm It has been, and there's only been like two things that I've gotten that hasn't worked. Compared to, I buy everything I need from Amazon.
they
Everything.
actually give their employees, as long as you're hired by the company, Prime membership, which is kind of nice. But
That's what I have too. Yeah, good
I've
for
never
that's
had
awesome.
I've never had Prime until they started giving it to the employees. But it is nice.
That is awesome. That is very awesome.
But of course, it's not nearly as nice as what they gave us 20 years ago. When I started, they gave us shares of stock, which
Okay.
if people that I knew people that retired early from the earlier days, even before I started,
Oh
and
wow.
I knew people that knew Jeff Bezos personally that because he started the warehouse here in Newcastle, Delaware. That was the first warehouse outside of Washington, and I guess he
Oh
chose this location because it was close to the Philadelphia airport, which was like a major hub on the East Coast. So the building is still there today. But yeah, like I knew a bunch of people that knew him, so I never met him, but I still feel
wow.
kind of closer to Jeff than a lot of other people would have been.
Right on. Um, uh, that's actually Trader Joe's. I don't know if you have one out there, but there's a store called Trader Joe's where I heard that their employees own a portion, and I think it's through stocks, but I might be wrong. But there's something about being able to have stocks in a company that you work for because it's actually your company as well, and
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of companies nowadays will cater more so to their shareholders than to their employees. So that's kind of, from my perspective, that's kind of a conflict of interest unless you hold shares of stock and you're an employee.
Yeah,
Because at least if you have the shares and you want to sell them to get the extra money, you can do that. But if they don't give you shares, then you got to find a way to open a brokerage account and get them yourself.
right, right. Yeah. Um, I didn't even get into the tariffs, okay? And I'm not going to start now. I will save that for another week.
Well, a lot of the what's happening now, if there's a lot of signs that are very similar to what led up to the Great Depression, like
Thank you.
The Smoot-Hawley tariffs. That was one of the things
Hmm.
that brought the economy down.
That's true.
The
Yes.
relentless stock market pump from in the 1920s, called the Roaring Twenties. It just, you had economists coming out years before the crash saying, we're on a permanently high plateau now, and nothing can break our permanent prosperity, and then it all fell apart.
Right. Yeah.
But we may not have a stock market crash this time. It may crash up. It may, go hyperinflate. Think Venezuela back in 2017. They had the best performing stock market in the world, but their currency couldn't buy a loaf. You couldn't buy a loaf of bread for 100 million, uh, bolivars.
That was crazy, crazy. I still don't even understand how that happened, but I know that it did. I don't understand the ins and outs. Plus, I don't do math well, but that's okay. Um, yeah, it's wild. And prepping a bit, making sure you might have some extra batteries or having a to-go bag or having, water over time, just, maybe buying a few extra cans and be sure to have a handheld can opener because our
That's
electric can
right.
opener might not work if we lose electricity, okay? Or if a disaster happens and we need to leave, you know, um, there are cans that we can just kind of lift up and open up, but we need a handheld um, can opener and stuff. And there's things that have a long shelf life, like pinto beans and rice
Spam.
and stuff like to spam. Yes, exactly. There's certain things that will have that you'll have a long shelf life with. And if you check your um, let's call it a to-go bag, because I'm in Southern California, so we could have an earthquake, and
Mm,
the apartment I'm in might not be livable. But if I have something I can take, which you also want to have tennis shoes that you've already worn in, you know, within this to-go bag or handy, not a new pair of tennis shoes that you're going to get blisters on because you might have to be walking a few miles. But you want to have worn out tennis shoes. And even if you have something in your trunk set up to where if you're out and about and an earthquake hits, maybe you're staying at family's house and, have something in your trunk and in your home. That's not that's not crazy. It's wise. And it kind of makes when you have a sense of being more prepared, you're more calm. At least that's the way it is for me, you know.
yeah.
Thank you for joining us tonight. It was really cool. I appreciate the things you offer.
Yeah. I'll be here when I can. It's just a lot of times I'm out driving late on Saturdays because that's your money making day. But right now I have an issue with the car, and I'm kind of at a crossroads to what I'm I have to wait basically till they can get me in to look at the issue. But it's an ongoing thing that's
Okay.
been for months, and I knew this was coming. But now I'm kind of like stuck for days with. I can't really drive that much because if I go beyond my extended warranty, then if there's a major issue, then it won't get covered. So I have to kind of lay
Oh,
low for a while, and
yeah.
it's just really boring right now for me. So
Oh, that's so
I have to
limiting.
find things
Yeah.
to do. Yeah.
Well, I made beads. I'm sure you'll find something interesting. I'd love making these beads, but still, yeah. I actually, when I have extra time, I like listening to audiobooks. I don't know if you have access to that, but a lot of times if you start a subscription, they'll give you like the first subscription for free. So, hopefully your car will be fixed within a month. Maybe you'll get a free month of some audiobooks if that's something you enjoy doing. I don't know.
I actually downloaded one audiobook a while back, and it was recommended to me by Mineko 64 channel, and the book is called it's by Lionel Shriver. It's called The Mandibles, and I mean it's you can get the audiobook or the regular book, but I like listening to them, and especially this book because it gives a fictional perspective of what could happen during when the currency collapses in America. And
Okay.
I think that's a matter of if, not when. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
you know what?
you're
You're right.
probably right. But it
Yeah.
takes your
No,
mind
not
through the
when, not if.
possibilities. Yes,
Yes, right.
I tend to agree with you. Um, Years ago, I read the Left Behind series, which was a bunch of different books, and it gave the idea of what would. So it's fiction based on scripture of Revelations, what it would probably be like during Armageddon and the rapture.
Mm.
So I don't even remember how many books it was, but um, it's kind of cool to be able to listen to something that's fiction, yet at the same time, it's around something that will probably happen. I just got done listening to a book called, just literally called Deputy, about a man who was once a deputy, what it was like for him to be the deputy, and things he came across, and just his journey, and it was cool because he came across as a real man of integrity. Um, it's just like the kind of police officer or peace officer we would all like to have. And I know there's good policemen out there. It was good to listen to that book, but I love to listen. I have a subscription to what is called Scribe, and I'll listen to books all the time, and I really, really enjoy it. But yeah, thank you for telling us about the one that you were listening to. So, was there
No
anything
problem.
else you wanted to share before we say goodnight?
No, I think I think that about covers everything for me.
Okay. So, thank you everybody that was here tonight in the chat, and anybody that's been watching and didn't join the chat. I love the way y'all talk amongst each other in the chat too. So it's really cool to. Sometimes I'll look back and listen and pay attention to the conversation y'all were having. It's pretty cool. And those that are listening to this later, I want to thank you as well. It really means a lot to me. And if this is something you think somebody might enjoy, please share it and please like it. And this is truly a highlight of my week. And I appreciate all of you. So until next weekend, which will be the day after Halloween, which is Saturday, the night after Halloween, if you want to dress up and join me on the show, you're welcome to. I'm probably going to. I don't know what I'm going to dress up and be, but I'm going to dress up. And traditionally, that will be November 1st, which is considered All Saints Day, which is actually something celebrated very much in the Latin Hispanic community. And it's a time of honoring those their ancestors and stuff like that. But I like any kind of a reason I can put on a costume or do something funky. So I think I'm going to do that next weekend, and you can as well if you want to. And if not, it's all good too. So I will talk. And plus, you'll be able to pick up stuff if you want to that will already be on sale the day after Halloween. Okay. So,
Yeah, wait for those candy deals.
yep, that's
They're
right.
coming.
Mm-hmm. Thanks again. All righty,
All right.
everyone.
Take care.
Good night.
I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm